Hello, welcome to the Fanfic Majesty. 1PIW. Chapter 1. Rebirth Whitebeard. Next chapter. Advertisement. New World. An unnamed island. The moonlight at night shed lightly on the sea, and with the breeze blowing, the waves hit the reef, splashing a few feet of crystal water, and then falling back into the sea like raindrops. On the coast, more than 43 masted sailing ships docked aside. One of them was several times larger than the others, like a whale. This ship is called the Moby Dick. It is a pirate ship controlled by Whitebeard, one of the New World 4 emperors. A room on the Moby Dick. A burly man with a black hat and a crescent-shaped white beard is sitting on the bed. His eyes are extremely deep. He is Whitebeard, who was known as the strongest man in the world. But at this time, Whitebeard had already changed a soul from the earth. Blackbeard gained the power of dark fruit. Ace was arrested. Marine has announced that Ace will be executed soon. Whitebeard said in a low voice. And the predecessor has summoned all the power of the Whitebeard pirate group, ready to go to Marineford to rescue Ace. In other words, what I have to face next is the war on top. Moreover, there are only 6 days left before the outbreak of the war. Speaking of this, the room fell silent. The 6-day period was short, too short to make any plans. But he knew that if he didn't take action and plunged into Marineford like the original, the end result would be death in battle. And the Whitebeard pirates will be like in the original book, fall apart. But how to change his fate, he was a little undecided. Because Marine is too strong. Advertisement. Sengoku of Buddha, Garp of Heroes, Admiral of 7 Warlords of the Sea. In addition to these top masters, there are also a large number of Vice Admiral, Rear Admiral, plus 100,000 elite Marines. These masters gathered at Marineford, waiting for him to cast himself in the net. Don't look at the Whitebeard pirates fighting with Marine in the original work, even almost destroying Marineford. But it can't change a fact. That is, in the case of 7 warlords of the sea playing soy sauce, Aokiji, Kizaru, Garp, and Sengoku, they still failed miserably. That's right. It's a fiasco. Whitebeard himself died in battle, Ace was killed, Joes broke his arm, and the pirates suffered heavy casualties and fell apart ever since. What about Marine? Except for the death of some low-end combat powers, none of the high-end combat powers were a problem. Ren was the strongest force on the sea. Destroy a 4 emperors regiment with minimal casualties. From this we can know how terrible Marine's power is. If he is the same as the original, he will go to Marineford without any preparation. Even if you know the plot, you will definitely die. I have inherited everything from Whitebeard and will never sit back and watch this happen again. Whitebeard creaked his fist. He knows how miserable the Whitebeard pirates was after the death of Whitebeard in the original book. The power was divided by many parties, and the captain of his men was hunted down all over the world by Whitebeard too, and the huge group of pirates fell apart. Now that he has become Whitebeard, he will not let the tragedy repeat itself. And this card, maybe it can change my destiny. Open the palm, a card that only he can see appears in the palm. Advertisement. While he was reborn as Whitebeard, he also bound a super card system. As long as you defeat the enemy in battle, you can get cards with different effects. And this card in hand is the novice gift package given to the system for the first time binding. Named Life is Resurrected. Life Recovery. This card contains strong vitality, which can restore the human body's hidden injuries and illnesses, and make people reborn. Close black lens bracket. In the original book, the main reason why Whitebeard died in the battle, besides being besieged, was illness and age. When it came to the top of the war, Whitebeard played 50% or 60% of his strength when he died. With this card, this body can be restored to its peak state. Whitebeard smashed the card fiercely. A powerful vitality spread throughout the body, the originally failing organs regained a new life, the body's illness slowly dissipated, and the powerful force rushed to the limbs. It seems that a mountain can be shattered with just one fist. In addition to his body, Haki, who had fallen sharply due to his body's decline, also returned to its peak. All the sound from the surroundings came into the ears, and it seemed extremely clear. As this my peak strength? A fire flashed in Whitebeard's eyes. Speaking fiercely, he unplugged the infusion tube from his body, his tall body stood up from the bed, and a strong momentum spread out. Dang dang. The wine bowl at the head of the table fell to the ground. It was just the inadvertent breath that caused the things in the room to start shaking. Father. The crew waiting outside heard the movement. When I saw Whitebeard walk out, I was a little puzzled. I don't know why my dad got up so late. Advertisement. But soon, they felt a terrible breath. This inadvertent breath suffocated the crew present. As a result, they opened their eyes wide, and subconsciously grasped their necks, like a fish losing water. Old Father's aura is stronger than before. A crew member was clutching his neck, his face flushed as if suffocating, but he ignored it and looked at Whitebeard in shock. Although Whitebeard's previous aura was strong, it gave people a sense of twilight, just like an old lion. But now he is like the real king of the grassland, full of vigor. Whitebeard ignored the call, stepped on the splint, and walked towards the bow of the mobile. Tread, tread, tread. The sound of calm footsteps spread. The breath on his body became stronger and stronger, and in the end, it even spread to other ships. After reaching the top of the bow, Whitebeard clenched his fist sharply. Drink. A low anger came from his mouth. The giant fist smashed into the air on both sides like a giant force. Click. The fist seemed to hit something, and the air shattered like glass, producing ripples. As the ripples spread, the power of terror boiled. Seeing this, Whitebeard did not stop, but strenuously stretched his arms, and the terrible shaking force also surged around like a raging wave. Dot 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 dot. New book for flowers, evaluation tickets, monthly tickets. Asterisk. Thank you for reading this story at mtlnation.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Advertisement. Chapter 2. Whitebeard's Peak Power. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Click. The cracks in the air spread quickly. Under the force of this shaking, the sky-shattering tsunami rolled in, and then exploded fiercely, falling back into the sea like a torrential rain from the sky. Poseidon passing by this sea area was shocked by the shock wave, his huge body burst instantly, and the scarlet blood dyed the sea red. The loud noise alarmed everyone. More than 40 pirate ships were lit up, and noisy sounds sounded. Father, what happened? Is it an enemy attack? Did Marine attack us? How could it be possible that although there are Marine warships monitoring us around, how dare those warships attack us? There was a chaotic and anxious voice. I saw all the captains and captains of the Whitebeard pirate group rushing forward. But before they finished speaking, they saw the figure standing on the bow of the mobile. The tall and strong body turned its back to everyone. Under the bright moonlight, this figure released a strong breath. Even if a group of captains are far apart, they can feel it. Everyone just took a look, and their whole body trembled, and a chill rose from the bottom of their hearts, as if they had fallen into an ice cave. At this moment, what people see is not human, but peerless beast. Old. Daddy. Advertisement. With a golden punk head and a dagger on his waist, Marco, with the Whitebeard pirate's tattoo on his chest, slipped cold sweat on his forehead. Even if he was good at strength, he was shocked by this momentum. It's such a strong breath. What happened to the old man? Jose, who is burly, muscular, broad-chested, and dark-skinned, whispered in a low voice, with a shocked expression on his face. I don't know if it is his illusion. I found that my father's momentum has changed drastically. Like a revived lion, light momentum makes people feel desperate. Jose, do you think so too? Beasta, with a black curled beard and known as a foil, said solemnly. I thought it was my own illusion, but now it seems that it is not the case, but that the old man has really changed. Goo la la la. A deep laughter came from Whitebeard's mouth. He tilted his head slightly and showed his sharp right eye, as if looking straight at everyone. Tomorrow we are going to Marineford. The next thing we will face will be 100,000 Marine elite, Marshal Admiral of 7 warlords of the sea and marine. Sons, you guys, are you afraid? The words fell, and the audience fell silent. But soon, a roar came from the mouths of many captains. Father, how could we be afraid? Ace is our brother. No matter how strong Marine is, we must rescue him. Yes, we are the Whitebeard pirates. They dare to hurt Ace. I must let him know and offend me the fate of the Whitebeard pirates. Rescue Ace. The crowd roared out. Goo la la la. Whitebeard laughed loudly, and turned around fiercely. The tall and strong body turned into a black shadow in the moonlight, covering the entire Moby Dick. If this is the case, then let go and let everyone in the world know. Offend our fate. Advertisement. Well, let Marine know how powerful our Whitebeard pirates is. As long as there is an old man, no matter how strong Marine is, we can win and save Ace. Long live Daddy. Thousands of crew members cheered upon hearing this. Under the cheers, Whitebeard slowly walked off the bow, and even if he hadn't deliberately released it, Whitebeard was still surging around. The captains and captains standing below suddenly stopped breathing. Papa. A look of shock appeared on Marco's face. It was found that the infusion tube that was usually hung on the old man's body had disappeared. Although the appearance of the old man is still the same, his mental state has undergone earth-shaking changes, which is completely different from the previous twilight feeling. Father, are you getting better? Jose asked hurriedly. When this word fell, everyone looked at their father. Although Whitebeard is known as the strongest man in the world, everyone on the ship knows that his father is tortured by illness. Although the strength is strong, he usually needs to hang the infusion bottle to maintain his body. Goo la la la. The old guy Sengoku summoned 100,000 Marines and waited for me to throw himself into the snare. Since he gave me such a gift, as an old friend, why don't I respond back? Whitebeard didn't answer directly, but laughed. It is true. Father, you really recovered. Great, Daddy, your body is restored, who else is your opponent in this world, Daddy? The captains heard this cheering, and their faces showed excitement. Advertisement. Facing 100,000 Marine, this is no joke. Although the captains are not afraid, they also know that this will be a hard fight, and if they are not careful, the entire army may be wiped out. Now that the old man is recovering, they have more confidence in rescuing Ace. But don't be happy too early, the old guy Sengoku is not so easy to deal with. All the captains come to my room, I have to make a new plan. Whitebeard put away his smile and strode into the room. Replanning. Marco and others were taken aback. After they got the news of Ace's arrest, they decided to rescue Ace. Just this morning, they have coated all the boats, ready to sail, bypassing the gate of justice and directly into Marineford. But just as he was about to leave, Dad wanted to change his plan. This made him a little confused. Marco, what do you say is the new plan of the old man? Beasta couldn't help asking. Do not know. Marco shook his head. Since the old man wants to change the plan, he must have thought of a better plan. There will never be a problem. Chowzi said in a urn. Yes. The other captains smiled at each other and walked into the house. After finding a seat in the house, everyone looked up at Whitebeard, waiting for their father's new plan. ... Ask for flowers, ask for evaluation tickets, ask for monthly tickets. Asterisk. Thank you for reading this story at mtlnation.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Advertisement. Chapter 3. A plan to disrupt the world. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Father, what exactly is our new plan? Marco spoke first. When the words fell, everyone looked at Whitebeard. Goo la la la, how do you think we are going to rescue Ace? Whitebeard laughed, his eyes swept across the captains. Of course it is to attack Marineford directly, let Marine know how good we are, and then rescue Ace. Isn't this a plan made before? Beasta couldn't help Kaido. The other captains nodded after hearing this. Although this plan is not perfect, it can bypass the gate of justice and catch Marine by surprise. I thought so before, but now that I think about it, first underestimate Marine. Whitebeard grabbed the wine tank next to it and filled it violently. After drinking, he wiped his mouth and put the wine tank back on the table. He glanced at the captains. This time Sengoku has gathered 100,000 elites. 7 warlords of the sea were summoned, and 3 admiral guards were added. It is difficult to make a frontal assault to rescue Ace. When this word fell, all the captains fell silent. Although they are pirates, they are not fools. Everyone knows how powerful naval headquarters is. If you assault head-on, even if Ace is rescued, the Whitebeard pirates will suffer heavy losses. The reason why no one opposed it before was because it was a decision made by the father, and as sons, they should fully support it. Now the old man himself proposed the flaws of the plan, reminding everyone of the possible consequences of this plan. Then, Papa, what do you mean? Marco asked suspiciously. Ace should be imprisoned in Impel Down now, right? Whitebeard spoke slowly. Advertisement. Many captains were surprised. Father, you mean, we don't go to Marineford, but go directly to Impel Down to rescue Ace? After saying this, the captains suddenly started talking. Marineford gathered 100,000 Marines, and went there to rescue Ace, which was completely hell difficulty. But going to Impel Down is different. The power of Impel Down is extremely weak compared to the Whitebeard pirates. If you go there, you can save Ace. The time to go to Impel Down is the same as the time to go to Marineford, but father, we don't know when Ace will be pressed to Marineford. Marco shook his head. When this word fell, everyone was quiet. The flame of excitement in his heart was also directly extinguished like a basin of cold water. Yes, they don't even know when Marine will escort Ace. In case Ace was pressed to Marineford ahead of time, wouldn't they have gone for nothing? A trip for nothing is not the point. When they reach Impel Down, they will definitely be exposed. At that time, if you want to break into Marineford again, you can only attack by storm. A storm is 10 times more difficult than a breakthrough. Once stormed, the Whitebeard pirates will definitely suffer heavy losses. Goo la la la, I know what you are worried about, but I have received news that Ace's time to go to Marineford is the day of the execution. We have enough time. Whitebeard laughed. He has read the original work of the pirate and knows the time when Ace was taken away. Advertisement. If you go to Impel Down now, it's completely too late. Of course, it doesn't matter if he missed it, he went to Impel Down for another purpose. That is, release all the prisoners. With the current strength of the Whitebeard pirates, he rushed into Marineford, and even if he regained his peak strength, the result would not change. Because Marine's power is too strong. With his peak power, he may be able to contend against the 3 Admiral on his own. But can it still compete with the combination of Garp, Sengoku and the 3 Admiral? And there is a lot of high-level combat power hidden in Marine. For example, Momoshiki and T-Dolphin, who are candidates for admiral, are both candidates for admiral, and they must be very strong. Even if it wasn't his opponent, it would be no problem to contain Marco and others. So if you want to get rid of this desperate situation, you can only increase your strength. And impel down is the best choice. Impel down the 6th floor, but watching a bunch of monsters. Don't ask for all these monsters to take action, as long as you find one or two to deal with Marine, you can contain part of Marine's high-end combat power. This is the real reason why he went to impel down. Really? Daddy, did you get the news? Great, this way we might be able to rescue Ace in advance. Ace is waiting for us, we will come right away. The captains didn't know what Whitebeard was thinking. After hearing this, they were suddenly surprised. Of course. But in order to prevent accidents, this time we will divide our troops into two. Jose and Bista will go to impel down with me. Marco, you take the remaining captain and follow the original plan. Advertisement. Whitebeard said in a deep voice. Although he knew the original work, he didn't know if there would be an accident. In the event of an accident, it would be difficult to break into Marineford. So it's best to split the pawns in two ways. Firstly, the power of impel down is not strong. If he takes Bista and Jose, he can completely sweep impel down. In the second, if something goes wrong, Ace will be pushed to Marineford ahead of time. The main force of the Whitebeard pirate group has already penetrated into the headquarters, and there will be no need to spend a large price to attack Marineford. Does the soldiers split? I see, Daddy. Marco nodded his head and looked at Jose and Bista again. You and Dad go to impel down, you must protect Dad's safety. Do not worry. Bista nodded. As long as I'm here, absolutely no one can hurt Daddy a bit. Jose clapped his chest and laughed. Sons. Whitebeard stood up abruptly and glanced at the captains. There is not much time left for us, let's start now. Yes, father. The captains shouted. Kaido, speaking, led by Whitebeard, walked out of the room. To implement this plan, the first thing to do is not to go to impel down, but to erase the 23 marine warships that are monitoring them. ... New book for flowers, evaluation tickets, monthly tickets. Asterisk. Thank you for reading this story at mtlnation.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Advertisement. Chapter 4. Destroy 23 sea ships in one blow. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Tatata. Heavy footsteps sounded. Whitebeard walked out with a group of captains, holding a telescope and looking at the distant sea. Goo la la la. These marines really don't hide it at all. Whitebeard laughed. Although the 23 marine warships were reconnaissance, they didn't have much cover up, and they could be seen with the binoculars. With the strength of the old man, even if Marine wants to hide, he can't hide it. Marco slapped a little flattery. Well, drive the Moby Dick closer to the warship. You also return to your ship immediately, and when I destroy these warships, immediately set off as planned. Whitebeard said solemnly. Yes, father. The captains responded with a bang. After turning around, he returned to his ship, immediately turned the bow, and headed towards the warship. Marine 23 warships. Since Naval Headquarters announced the news of the execution of Ace, they have been monitoring Whitebeard's every move in this area. But they didn't understand Whitebeard's behavior. Because since the day before yesterday, all the forces under the Whitebeard pirate group have gathered around this small island, and it seems that there is no plan to rescue Ace. This left the Marines wondering what attention Whitebeard was paying. Colonel Oliver, the Whitebeard pirates have begun to move, and they are coming towards us. A seaman hurried over. What? Oliver, the head colonel in charge of monitoring the Whitebeard pirate group, was startled and immediately picked up the binoculars and looked in the direction of the island. Advertisement. I don't know, I was shocked at first glance. I saw that the Whitebeard pirates, which had not been moving, turned around one after another, seeming to make big moves. Captain, what should we do now? The sea soldier couldn't help asking. Turn the rudder and retreat immediately, don't conflict with the Whitebeard pirates. Oliver gave the order. Before he came, he had received clear instructions from Sengoku. That is, the 23 warships only need to monitor the Whitebeard pirates, and must not conflict with the Whitebeard pirates. Once a conflict occurs, these 23 warships will never win. Now that the Whitebeard pirate group is coming in mighty, he naturally won't be waiting here foolishly. Yes. The Marines saluted and retired. After the order was communicated, the warship immediately turned around and retreated. The Whitebeard pirates who came to the warship also discovered this. Father, the marine warship has retreated. Marco reported quickly. Goo la la la. It seems that these marines are not stupid. Whitebeard laughed, and then his eyes became fierce. Speed up and catch up with the marine warship. Yes. Marco nodded. Under orders, the Whitebeard pirates quickly pursued them. The two sides gradually narrowed the distance as they chased and fled, and the marine warship, which could only be seen by a telescope, can now be seen with the naked eye. Sengoku, My old friend, before the war begins, let me give you a big gift. Goo la la la. Whitebeard looked at the small black spot in the distant sea and laughed. Advertisement. Then, under the admiring gaze of all the crew, step by step towards the bow of the mobile. When he came to the top of the bow, his aura rose, his arms stretched even more. Drink. With a loud shout, both fists fell. The air was directly smashed by a punch, and the terrifying shock wave spread rapidly, and the surrounding sea began to tremble. Boom. There was a loud roar. The dark green water rolled up huge waves toward the warship, like 10,000 galloping horses, charging the enemy. The seamen on the marine warship turned pale when they saw the terrifying waves, and their eyes showed hopelessness. Why are there huge waves on the calm sea? It's over, it's all over. It must be the ghost of the Whitebeard pirates. The Marines watched all this in horror. Whitebeard has the ability of shock fruit, and it is rumored that it can set off a huge wave. Is this the strength of the world's strongest man? A look of despair appeared in Colonel Oliver's eyes. In the face of such a mighty force, he couldn't even produce a heart of resistance. Boom. With a loud roar, the huge wave directly crushed the warship. With the boiling of the waves, the fragmented seaship slowly sank into the sea, and gradually disappeared with the sound of bubbles. One strike. Whitebeard only took one blow. All the 23 marine warships under surveillance will be wiped out. So amazing. Daddy wiped out all marine warships with just one blow. Who else is Daddy's opponent in this world? The crew of the Whitebeard pirate group was shocked, and they looked at Whitebeard standing on the mobile deck in admiration. Advertisement. At this moment, Whitebeard is like a god in everyone's hearts. This is the strength of the old man. Marco was extremely proud. In his opinion, there are indeed people in this world who can destroy 23 sea ships in an instant, but there are definitely not many people who are as relaxed as his own father. Ha 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 ha. Because of this, Dad is called the strongest in the world. Joe's laughed. The other captains next to it listened, quite appreciative of it. After seeing those new crew members who had just joined the pirates but hadn't seen Whitebeard take action, so shocked the new crew members burst into laughter. Put my chin away. What kind of means is this? My father's strength is far more than that. Hearing this, the new crew looked at Whitebeard's gaze, admiring it beyond all levels. At this moment, everyone feels. With such a powerful father, even if Marine gathers all his power, he will not be the opponent of the Whitebeard pirates. Under everyone's enthusiastic gaze, Whitebeard slowly retracted his arm. Then he grabbed the big knife fiercely, and slammed it heavily on the ship's board. He turned his head slightly, glanced at everyone like a blade, and a deep laughter spread all around. Goo la la la. My sons, start our plan to let the world see and see the fate of the Whitebeard pirates. Well, all the crew members cheered enthusiastically. As the waves rolled, the giant ship slowly sank into the ocean of Wangyang. And their destination is Marineford and Impel Down. ... New book for flowers, recommended tickets, monthly tickets. Asterisk. Thank you for reading this story at mtlnation.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Advertisement. Chapter 5. The Wrath of the King of Old Times. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Marineford. A huge building with a seagull pattern stands in the middle of the island. This building is Naval Headquarters. Following the announcement of the execution of Ace, Naval Headquarters deployed various defenses. A warship docked in front of the bay. There are still many cannons on the bay, blocking the entire Marineford enclosure. Of course, in addition to these basic defenses, 100,000 elite Marines and Shichibukai who had been summoned also all arrived. Now wait for the Whitebeard pirates to throw themselves into the net. Headquarters Marshal's office. With a bang, a seaman hurried in. What happened? Panicked. Sengoku scolded. Marshal Sengoku, the 23 warships monitoring Whitebeard, all lost contact. The sea soldier saluted, and then said hurriedly. What? Sengoku's face changed drastically when he heard this. He knows what it means for a warship to lose contact. Last night the headquarters still kept in touch with the warships under surveillance, but just half an hour ago, all the 23 warships lost their response. No matter how they called, they did not reply. The Marines recounted what had happened. I see. Advertisement. Sengoku took a deep breath and calmed himself down. Call all Vice Admiral and above generals to come to the conference room council. Yes. The seamen retreated. Soon, news of the convocation reached every Vice Admiral and Admiral. After receiving the news, a group of Vice Admiral came to the meeting room, sitting on both sides of the long table in the meeting room, holding their breath, waiting for Sengoku to speak. However, among the many senior generals, only one is missing. And this person is impressively known as the Marine hero Garp. What about Garp? Sengoku, who was standing in the front, looked around, and suddenly asked in a deep voice after seeing that a figure was missing. He doesn't want to come. Crane Vice Admiral shook his head. This guy, Sengoku frowned, but he also knew why Garp didn't want to come. Because Ace, who is about to be executed, is Garp's grandson. Then don't wait for him. After saying, glanced at all the senior generals, his expression became extremely serious. Everyone has come here, I must know the news. The generals nodded. All 23 warships monitoring Whitebeard have lost contact, which shows that Whitebeard has already started. And Whitebeard has only one purpose. That's, rescue Huo Fist Ace. Sengoku said loudly. When these words fell, the atmosphere of the meeting room changed. The pupils of many generals shrank, and a solemn color appeared on their faces. Advertisement. Although I knew the news before I came here, speaking from Sengoku's mouth still shocked the generals. Because Whitebeard is no ordinary person. It is one of the 4 emperors, known as the strongest man in the world. Once you come to Marineford to rescue Ace, you will definitely collide with naval headquarters. At that time, the entire naval headquarters may be ruined. Yeah, the Whitebeard pirates came out, it's so terrible. Kizaru Admiral with a wretched face with Erlang's legs upright exaggerated. The Whitebeard pirate group is very powerful. If all of them are dispatched, it is indeed a big trouble. Aokiji on the side nodded without thinking. In the end, Sakazuki, known as Akainu Admiral, remained silent and seemed to be thinking about something. The rest of Vice Admiral also frowned, thinking the news was tricky. Since Whitebeard has started to monitor warships, he must be ready for war. Now the Whitebeard pirates may have already approached Marineford. Just when everyone was dignified, Vice Admiral Mole said. Sengoku nodded, and his face became heavy again. But I don't know what Whitebeard is doing, or whether Whitebeard has come out in full force. Without specific information, we have fallen into a passive position. Yeah, I heard that Whitebeard cares about his family most. Fire Fist Ace will be executed. Whitebeard will not abandon his son, right? Kizaru interjected with Erlang's legs upright. When the words fell, Sengoku fell silent. He and Whitebeard are also old opponents and know each other very well. Now Huaquan Ace is arrested and is about to be put to death. With Whitebeard's character, he will definitely try his best to rescue him. So even if you don't know the information, you can guess what Whitebeard will do next. Poor Salino is right. Advertisement. Before the execution of Fire Fist Ace, Whitebeard will definitely come. So, be prepared for the battle. Crane Vice Admiral's tone became serious. When these words fell, the atmosphere in the conference room became more serious. Some Vice Admirals' breathing was even more stagnant, and felt an invisible pressure. Who is Whitebeard? I'm afraid no one knows the whole new world. The opponent is the king of the same era as One Piece Roger. Known as the strongest in the world. Even the redheads, Once and Kaido, who are the same 4 emperors, are not comparable to the old king in strength and fame. Now Marine's behavior has completely angered the maritime overlord. The next thing they have to face is the monstrous anger of this overlord. This makes some vice admiral, who have never faced such a strong man, doubt whether they can defeat the king of the old age. In that case, before the execution, everyone is fully prepared. Whitebeard's strength is beyond imagination. It is Marine's strongest enemy. This battle can only be won without defeat. Sengoku took a deep breath and shouted in a deep voice. Yes. A group of high-ranking generals responded in a sudden. After the meeting, the news that 23 warships lost contact also spread throughout Marineford. All Marine and Shichibukai know about it. Whitebeard has set off for Marineford. For a time, the cloud of war enveloped the entire island. Whether Marine Admiral or 7 warlords of the sea, they all have a heavy heart, knowing that they are about to endure the wrath of this sea lord. Asterisk. Thank you for reading this story at mtlnation.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Advertisement. Chapter 6. The World's First Prison. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Impel Down. The world's first prison. Vicious prisoners from all over the world are held inside. But just yesterday, a pirate named Luffy turned Impel Down upside down and almost rescued Ace. Fortunately, the Warden Magellan made a strong move to suppress the farce. Luffy in the straw hat is really bold, daring to Impel Down. Yes, but it's a pity that the guardian of Impel Down is Warden Magellan, so no matter who comes, I don't want to rescue any prisoner from the prison. Those pirates underestimate the power here. Before Impel Down the gate, the seaman guarding the gate chatted. After mentioning the 3 characters Magellan, admiration appeared on his face. The biggest reason why Impel Down is indestructible is because of the guard of Magellan. Magellan, with the ability to poison fruit, is the strongest barrier for Impel Down. No matter who comes, they never want to break through this iron wall. Guru, 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 while chatting with the guards of the seamen. The sea directly in front of Impel Down, but blisters kept coming up. And there were more and more blisters, and the sound became louder and louder, until in the end, the water boiled, as if something was about to come out. F.A. What happened? The guards of the Marines were alarmed and looked towards the sea ahead. I saw the water rushing violently, and after a huge wave was set off, a giant ship that looked like a whale rose up into the sky. Advertisement. Wow. The sky full of sea water fell like heavy rain. The huge ship soaring into the sky also slammed into the sea, setting off a huge wave, and then stopped steadily. The guard seaman was dumbfounded. One by one stared dumbfounded at the huge ship that suddenly appeared. Looking up along the giant ship, after seeing the skull banner with the crescent moon beard, his body trembled suddenly. This banner. A seaman's teeth trembled, and he pointed at the giant ship with fear. This flag is the flag of Whitebeard. What? The other seaman on guard heard the face change drastically. When I looked closely, I saw the banner of the famous New World. It's really Whitebeard's banner. As Whitebeard impelled down. What does he want to do? Is he trying to save Ace from impel down? All the guards of the seamen were frightened. Even a little timid, just seeing this banner, was frightened and collapsed to the ground, shaking uncontrollably. The name of Whitebeard is too loud. Known as the strongest in the world. Once you attack impel down, the entire impel down will be destroyed. Quickly, report it to Warden Magellan. A sea soldier finally woke up and shouted sternly. The surrounding Marines were agitated, and with a face full of fear, they staggered towards a place inside the gate. There was a red button there, then pressed it violently. Impel down the monitoring room. Advertisement. Dressed in black, Magellan is standing in front of the surveillance video, looking at every corner of the underground prison. Did the prisoners who escaped the prison yesterday be taken back? Back to the warden, the custody has been completed. Where is the broken place? It is being repaired, and it will be repaired in about 2 days. Magellan nodded in satisfaction. Yesterday, a pirate who lived and died broke into impel down, and made a lot of noise. Fortunately, it was easily solved by him, and it didn't cause much loss. Seeing everything as before, he turned and left, thinking about taking a break. But before progressing, a harsh voice sounded. Magellan stopped, his face changed, and he looked in one direction of the monitoring station. It's the alarm at the prison gate. The staff quickly said. What happened? Magellan frowned, looked at the video of the surveillance gate, and then saw a huge ship appeared in the sea in front of impel down. This huge ship is like a whale. And at the top of the bow stood a tall figure. Seeing this figure, Magellan's face changed drastically. The eyes are even more incredible. But soon, he woke up, resisting the horror in his heart, and sternly shouted, Hannibal, you immediately go to the 6th floor and press fire fist ace to Marineford in advance. Hannibal, naked, with a big belly and bat wings behind him, didn't react. However, following Magellan's gaze, after seeing everything in the surveillance video, his body trembled suddenly, and a look of horror appeared on his face. Hurry up. Advertisement. Magellan shouted. Yes. Hannibal was agitated, turned and headed towards the elevator. He knew that if he didn't take Ace away as soon as possible, there might be no chance again. Woo. Magellan took a sigh of relief and forced herself to calm down. Notify Saru Des and Sati that they have an enemy, and prepare them for a full-scale battle. At the same time, let out that bastard. The warden. Domino's face changed. She knew who the bastard was in Magellan's mouth. Now is not the time to think so much. If he is not released, the entire impel down may be destroyed today. Magellan's tone was solemn. Then he said nothing, turned and walked outside. Now that the enemy is coming, as the warden, he must set an example to meet the attacking enemy. Yes. Domino took a deep breath and left immediately. Orders were issued at the fastest speed, and the impel down that had just gone through the chaos for a short time, riots again. The Marines guarding the major prisons are ready to fight like enemies. The cloud of war envelops impel down 6 floors up and down. The atmosphere of the prison suddenly became solemn. This kind of dignity can even be noticed by the prisoners in custody. This made a group of prisoners wonder what had happened in the end, made the Marines assume such a posture. Chapter 7. Vista vs. Magellan. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Ta-ta. Heavy footsteps sounded. Whitebeard stepped to the top of the Moby Dick. After arriving at the top of the bow, looking at the huge city towering in front of him, a sharp look appeared in his eyes. If he can rescue Ace here, he will be able to stop Marco and the others from heading to Marineford, and the upcoming war on the top will also be avoided. Whitebeard. A shrill scream sounded. The seamen guarding the gate looked at this figure in horror. They did not expect that the man known as the strongest in the world would appear here. And it still appeared without any notice. What is the name of the ghost? An angry shout appeared. The warden Magellan walked out with a group of jailers, and then stared at the figure standing on the bow of the ship. Warden Magellan. The guards of the seamen were inexplicably relieved when they saw the incoming person. Goo la la la. Little Magellan, my son Ace, how are you doing now? Standing on the bow of the ship, Whitebeard violently raised his sword and slammed it heavily on the board, looking at each other condescendingly, with a grandiose laugh in his mouth. Huaquan Ace has already been pressed to Marineford, and Marshal Sengoku decided to execute Huaquan Ace in advance. Whitebeard, you came to the wrong place. The pressure in Magellan's heart increased sharply. But he still resisted this pressure and said something nonsense. The order to escort Ace has just been issued, and he doesn't know whether Sengoku will execute Ace in advance. But the only thing I know is that Whitebeard must be held for a while now. He even used this lie to make Whitebeard retreat. Hey, advertisement. I'm afraid no one will believe this stupid thing. Beasta sneered on the side. Father, do it. Joe's clenched his fist, and the brilliance of the diamond slowly climbed up his arm. Little Magellan. Whitebeard's tone became low, and the breath on his body was released like a raging wave, sweeping the surrounding area. Give me. Get out of the way. Boom. The terrible conqueror's haki swept across. The strong breath swept past, producing huge coercion. The jailers following Magellan were swept away by pressure, grabbing their necks one by one, their faces flushed like suffocation. Then everyone foamed at their mouths and collapsed to the ground, unable to stand up anymore. Whitebeard. Magellan was sweating coldly. Faced with such a terrible breath, even he was terrified. But he was the warden, and he immediately reacted with a lot of purple liquid coming out of his body. Poison dragon. There was a roar. The venom sprayed out, forming 3 huge poisonous dragons, which slammed into Whitebeard. Leave it to me here, Daddy. Beasta stood up and drew the 2 long swords from his waist. Speaking, the body jumped up, the swords crossed together, and as the arms waved, a sharp light flashed. The light pierced all around like lightning. 2 huge crescent-like slashes appeared, slashing the sea water and the ground, and slicing vertically on the rushing poisonous dragon. The poisonous dragon, which was still opening its teeth and dancing its claws, was instantly split into 2 halves. Then it turned into a pile of venom and scattered on the ground. The Magellan Imp is a very poisonous man, his ability is venom, don't be touched by his venom. Advertisement. Whitebeard spoke. After speaking, he jumped down from the bow and rushed towards Impel Down. Seeing this, Joe's immediately followed. Don't want to pass me. Magellan has a big face. His body flashed, trying to stop Whitebeard. Hey, if you want to fight against Daddy, get past me first. Beasta laughed, the swords crossed, and the huge slash reappeared, rushing towards Magellan. Facing such a terrible slash, Magellan had to defend. And Whitebeard and Joe's also took advantage of this opportunity and rushed inside. But as soon as I entered, I ran into a large number of jailers. Ace is kept on the 6th floor. Whitebeard spoke slowly. Speaking of holding a broadsword in his hand, he walked calmly step by step. As for the jailer who surrounded him, he didn't take it seriously. And as he moved forward, the jailers were sweating coldly, but they also backed away, not daring to do anything at all. There are even timid people who are directly frightened and collapse to the ground. Because the man in front of me is Whitebeard. The strongest man in the world. In the face of such a terrifying existence, ordinary jailers don't even talk about hands-on, even at a glance, they feel frightened, without the slightest intent to fight. You want to be an enemy with me? Whitebeard stopped and scanned the jailers sharply. What? Sweeping this gaze, the jailers present screamed out in an instant, each of them slumped to the ground with fear. Don't talk about touching Whitebeard, you can't even stand up. Advertisement. Damn it. Ordinary jailers don't have the courage to act at all. The long guard Domino was sweating coldly. But she didn't blame the jailers, because even her head guard, facing the strongest person in the world, felt cold and stiff in her hands and feet. Let's go. Whitebeard looked at the jailer who had lost his fighting spirit, and walked in with a large knife in his hand. And Domino, the chief caretaker, also reacted. Enduring the panic in his heart, he sternly shouted at Whitebeard. Stop for me. This is the great undersea prison where prisoners are held. As the chief guard, I will never let any pirate pass by me. Although she was afraid of Whitebeard. But her inner justice did not allow her to remain motionless and allow Whitebeard to leave. Even if this behavior may cost you your life. Father, leave it to me. Joe's grinned. The light of the diamond illuminates the surroundings, and the toe of his right foot slams on the ground. Click. Cracks in the ground are pervasive. And Jaws' figure also rushed out and came to Domino in an instant. The arm was shrouded in diamonds, severely smashed down. Boom. There was a loud noise. Domino, who had been deterred by Whitebeard, was blown out with a punch before he could react. After falling to the ground, he vomited blood and couldn't stand up anymore. Whitebeard glanced, retracted his gaze, and moved on. Chapter 8. Original Shichibukai. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Crimson Hell. Warcraft Hell. Starvation Hell. Blazing Hell. In just a short time, Whitebeard and Joes broke through the 4th floor of the underground prison and reached the 5th floor, freezing hell. Although there was a jailer obstructed along the way, it was easily solved by Joes. The behavior of the two naturally attracted the attention of all prisoners. It's Whitebeard. The prisoners on the 5th floor were horrified. Everyone did not expect that Whitebeard, one of the 4 emperors, would appear in Impel Down. But after everyone reacted, all the prisoners rioted. Damn Whitebeard, how dare you come to Impel Down? Let me out, I want to avenge my crew. Whitebeard, you just need to let me out, I am willing to join the Whitebeard pirates. Please, take me away. The prisoners roared, pleaded, and cursed. Everyone knows what the 3 words Whitebeard stand for. If Whitebeard really wants to take them away, they can definitely leave this blind cage. Clang. Whitebeard smashed the handle of the knife against the ground heavily. The majestic gaze scanned all the prisoners in LV5 prison, and there was a deep laughter in his mouth. Goo la la la. Do you want to go out? When the words fell, the prison suddenly fell silent. The prisoners in the cell were all staring wide-eyed. Advertisement. Although they yelled for Whitebeard to let him go, everyone knew that such a thing was impossible. After all, many people locked up here are caused by Whitebeard. There were even some that Whitebeard sent in. But now Whitebeard asked them. Do you want to go out? Whitebeard, as long as you let me out, our previous hatred will be wiped out. From then on, I will recognize you as the captain. A prisoner slammed into the prison railing and shouted with excitement. His name is Elliot Baker. A big pirate with a bounty of up to 200 million. 7 years ago, he took aim at the Whitebeard pirates recklessly, trying to defeat Whitebeard and replace the 4 emperors. Finally defeated, the crew was killed, and he was arrested by Marine. It can be said that there is a deep hatred with the Whitebeard pirates. But those are things of the past. After entering Impel Down, he was tortured by the low temperature, and he has reached the limit. If you don't go out, you will die here sooner or later. Faced with the threat of death, he had long forgotten to avenge Whitebeard. Now as long as Whitebeard releases him, he is even willing to be a dog, biting anyone for Whitebeard. Yes, as long as we let us out, we are willing to pay any price. Whitebeard, please, let us go. The other prisoners also yelled out excitedly. Facing the endless torture, even the unruly pirates have been wiped out, and now they just want to escape this magic cave. Then compete. LV5 Hell will have 10 places. Before I leave, I will leave with 10 people. As for who is leaving, it's up to you to decide. Whitebeard spoke slowly. Advertisement. After speaking, without giving the prisoner a chance to react, he led Joes to the 6th floor. It's up to us to decide. Many prisoners reacted and understood the meaning of these words. The prisoners who wanted to live had a red light in their eyes, and they did not hesitate to kill those around them. Soon, freezing hell screamed horribly. ... Impel down the 6th floor. Eternal hell. The prisoners who can enter this level of prison are all powerful or extremely vicious generations. Pirates with hundreds of millions of bounty, grab a lot in this one. After receiving Magellan's instructions, Hannibal immediately took the elevator and came here. He opened the cell as quickly as possible and walked in. There are 2 figures in the cell. Both of them were tied with chains specially made by Seastone, and they seem to be worried about the prisoner's escape. And one of the 2 is Ace, known as the Fire Fist. It is also the target of Whitebeard's rescue this time. Take Fire Fist Ace away. Hannibal spoke with a heavy face. The 2 jailers next to him immediately took action, unfastened the chains, pressed Ace, who was naked, and left in a hurry. Brother Ace. The huge Jinbei opened his eyes. Looking at Ace being taken away, there was a look of worry in his eyes. The warden Magellan didn't come, but the deputy warden hurriedly escorted the kid away. It's really interesting. A deep laughter sounded. Jinbei turned his head and looked, and saw Shichibukai Crocodile, the original Shichibukai Crocodile, who was nicknamed the Sand Crocodile, watching Hannibal leave with a sneer. Crocodile, what do you mean? Advertisement. Jinbei couldn't help asking. Don't understand yet. Crocodile sneered. That kid is the son of the old man Whitebeard. He is very important to Marine. If he wants to go to Marineford, he will definitely be checked by Magellan himself. But now only Hannibal has arrived, and it's still in such a hurry. Do you think this kind of thing is reasonable? When this word fell, Jinbei was taken aback. After thinking for a while, he asked in a deep voice. You mean, there has been a change in the underwater prison? This change may be related to the Ace brothers, so Hannibal has to take Ace away in advance. Logically speaking, the last day of execution will be in a while. It was also at that time that Ace would be taken away. But now Ace was taken away early. This is enough to show that Impel Down has changed, forcing the warden to do so. Humph. Just don't know what happened. Crocodile sneered. Quote. Jinbei sighed secretly. Although it was speculated that something happened outside, the detainees were unable to contribute and could only wait for the development of the situation. But what the two of them didn't expect was, just after Ace was taken away for less than 20 minutes, a scream came from a distance, and it was very ear-piercing in the silent infinite prison. At the same time, a tall figure slowly approached in secret. Finally appeared in front of all the prisoners. Chapter 9. Suppress Eternal Hell Prisoner with One Punch. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Who? The prisoners on the 6th floor opened their eyes one after another, looking at the tall figures coming from a distance. Hey! A sneer sounded. The figure finally emerged from the fire. I saw that this man was extremely tall, wearing the costume of an undersea prison officer, and a long sword at his waist. He was dangling his cigar and looking at the cells on both sides of the prison. Seeing this, everyone's eyes flashed with surprise. Rain, Shiryu. Hey, you ran out. Crocodile sneered. I can remember that you, like us, were taken into custody by Magellan. That fellow Magellan doesn't have time to control me. Not only that, I was able to come out thanks to the guy's order. Yuji Shiryu spit out a smoke ring and laughed. In the original book, he will also be released. It's just that Luffy will be released after he recovers, and then escapes with Ivankov, causing a riot in the underwater prison. Now that Whitebeard arrived, he was released a few hours earlier. However, the personality of the other party has not changed as a result. Still the same as in the original book, killed the jailer in LV6 prison. No time to worry about you. It seems that Magellan is in big trouble. Crocodile sneered. It's really a big trouble. Or it's a big trouble for everyone present, and you may die if you are not careful. Rain Shiryu sneered again and again. Then he said nothing, leaned his back against the wall, and closed his eyes. If you are not careful, you will die. This remark attracted the attention of all prisoners in LV6 prison. Advertisement. Everyone is thinking about what happened to Impel Down that would make Magellan release the mob, Shiryu of Rain. The 5th floor is freezing hell. Through the passage, Whitebeard and Joes finally reached the 6th floor. However, as soon as they reached the 6th floor, the two saw the bodies of jailers everywhere, as if they had just experienced a massacre here. The blood is still hot, and it's not long before these jailers die. Joes squatted down, touched the blood and said, could it be that a prisoner has escaped from here? Don't worry, find Ace first. Whitebeard spoke slowly. It is difficult to escape from eternal hell. Now that the jailer is killed, there is only one possibility that Shiryu of the Rain is released. But if the other party can't get out, it has nothing to do with him. With that, walk towards the inside of the prison. At this time, the inmates in the 6th tier prison were still thinking about what Shiryu of Rain meant. It was not until a sound of footsteps sounded that many prisoners were awakened. Tread, tread, tread. The sound of steady footsteps rang, and in the silent eternal hell, it seemed unusually harsh. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound through the cracks in the iron bars of the cell. I saw two figures coming from far and near. The dark shadow stretched so long under the orange flame that it was hard to tell whether the owner of the shadow was a male or a female. Are they the one that Yuji Shiryu said determines our life and death? The prisoners sneered. But as soon as these words fell, everyone felt a strong momentum. The momentum spread, and the prisoners of LV6 prison were shocked. How familiar is this oppressive aura? Crocodile stood up abruptly and walked towards the door of the cell step by step, staring in the direction of the incoming person. Is that you? Old man Whitebeard. Under everyone's gaze, the figure finally appeared. Advertisement. The tall body, the white beard with a crescent moon, and the strong breath like a lion. Seeing this man, all the prisoners calmed down. Unbelievable colors are revealed in the eyes. Whitebeard. One Piece Roger, the king of the sea in the same era. Eternal hell appeared in Impel Down at this time. Whitebeard, it's really you. Crocodile was the first to react, slamming his palm against the iron bars of the cell, bloodshot eyes. Ha 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 ha, it turned out to be you. Whitebeard, it's been a long time since I saw you, but I remember Birdie David who was defeated by you. Damn Whitebeard, I'm going to kill you. Interesting, you come to eternal hell, do you want to save someone? The prisoners on the 6th floor woke up, roaring and laughing. It's you, Kid Crocodile. Whitebeard slowly turned his head, and after seeing the familiar face, he spoke calmly. You actually broke into Impel Down. Crocodile looked complicated, but soon burst into laughter. But unfortunately, you are a step late. Papa Whitebeard. Hearing the movement, Jinbei stood up excitedly. Brother Ace was taken away 20 minutes ago. What? Jaws's expression changed. Is it still a step too late? Whitebeard frowned, knowing that he had missed the opportunity. However, he was not too disappointed, but looked at the prisoners in LV6 prison. Perceived Whitebeard's gaze. The prisoners who had a grudge against Whitebeard burst out laughing. Is that Fire Fist Ace your relative? Advertisement. Ha 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 ha. I heard that he will be executed soon, it's really happy. Whitebeard, you have today too. Die well. In this way, you will also experience the pain of the death of the crew and relatives. Hip hop, ha ha. All kinds of crazy and harsh laughter resounded through the entire eternal hell. Asshole. Joe's was furious. Goo la la la. Bugs abandoned by the times can only live like roundworms in the eternal hell, losing their freedom and suffering, and now you can still laugh. Whitebeard was not angry, but laughed bravely. What did you say? These words seemed to sting everyone's heart, causing a group of prisoners to roar again and again. But before they finished speaking, they saw Whitebeard raising his fist and slamming it into the air. Boom. The strong vibration spread and swept all around. The prisoners who were still roaring were hit by the terrible shock and their bodies flew out. Boom, boom, boom. The dull crash sounded constantly. The prisoner, who was extremely arrogant just now, was already lying on the ground with blood vomiting, constantly wailing. After struggling for a while and realizing that he could not stand up, the original arrogance disappeared without a trace. One by one looked at Whitebeard in horror. At this moment, they finally remembered. Whitebeard is also a pirate. And it's one of the pirates. The king. Several times more cruel than them. If you continue to clamor, you might be shocked to death by Whitebeard. Chapter 10. Ryder, come with me. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. What a terrifying power. An abrupt voice sounded. Shiryu of Rain, hidden in the dark, appeared, looking shocked and fascinated at Whitebeard. The prisoners in eternal hell are all rebellious generations. But it only took Whitebeard for a while to make these prisoners too scared to speak. This means, this strength. It shocked him. Jailer. When Joe saw the person who appeared, his face changed, and he immediately blocked Whitebeard, and the light of the diamond climbed up his arm. The original guardian Shiryu of the Rain. Whitebeard looked at each other, and a strong breath erupted from his body, crushing away like a raging wave. Do you want to be my enemy? Boom. The terrible momentum raged. Yuji Shiryu was hit like this, the clothes on her body rustled, and her body stepped back, her face changed again and again. The previous self-confidence completely disappeared. Cold sweat slipped from the corner of his forehead, and his breathing became heavy. Although I know that Whitebeard is very strong. But he never thought that relying on Haki alone would give him a feeling of being invincible. Facing such a terrible Haki, I just feel like a small boat in the ocean of Wang Yang. May be destroyed at any time. I am not malicious. Besides, I have been detained by Magellan before. I am no longer the chief of Impel Down. I only appeared to help you. Advertisement. Yuji Shiryu endured the panic in his heart and hurriedly spoke. He knew that if he didn't speak anymore, he might really be attacked. After speaking, he immediately took out the prison key he got from the jailer and handed it to Joe's. Joe's was taken aback. Unexpectedly, things will be reversed. But he reacted quickly, and after receiving the key, he quickly opened Jinbei's cell and rescued Jinbei. Papa Whitebeard. Jinbei came to Whitebeard with a look of excitement. It's okay. Whitebeard lowered his head and asked. I'm okay, but the Ace brothers have been taken to Marineford, but they haven't been away for a long time. We are chasing now, maybe we can catch up. Jinbei said hurriedly. That's too late. Whitebeard shook his head. 20 minutes is not long, but it is not short. And there is also a Warden Magellan outside. It is impossible to pursue him immediately. Knowing this, he is not struggling with this problem, but looking at Shiryu of Rain. Shiryu boy, what is your purpose for helping me? Leave here. Yuji Shiryu wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. Whitebeard puts too much pressure on him. It was big enough for him to understand that he might be killed by Whitebeard as long as he said one wrong sentence. So in the face of questions, he didn't dare to hide it. If you want to leave here, then follow me to Marineford. Whitebeard did not refuse. Advertisement. He came here to release all the prisoners and strengthen his combat power. Shiryu of Rain is quite strong, and it just happens to be able to help. After speaking, without giving the other party a chance to reply, he turned his head and looked at the prisoners. Do you want to leave? The prisoners who heard this looked at Whitebeard with wide-eyed eyes. Eternal hell will have 10 places. Before I leave, I will take 10 people to Marineford. If you want to get out of this cage, let's fight as much as you want. Whitebeard said in a deep voice. When this word fell, everyone's eyes were red. Although many people here have enemies with Whitebeard. But in the face of the temptation of freedom, the so-called hatred becomes trivial. After a while, the screams rang through the entire eternal hell. The pungent smell of blood surrounds it. In just 10 minutes, eternal hell screamed and stopped, and eternal hell returned to his former calm. Joe's, open the prison door. Whitebeard said. Yes. Joe's replied loudly, opening the cell door. In the fight just now, most of the people were killed, and only a few people were still alive. These living people are the strong ones among the strong ones. For example, original Shichibukai, Crocodile, Crescent Hunter, Catalina de Peng, Huge Battleship, San Juan Wicked Wolf, Big Wine, Basque Chote, Evil King, Abaro Pai Salo. Plus the original Shichibukai Jinbei and the surrendered Rain Shiryu. In just a few moments, Whitebeard has a high-end combat power. Just throw these people into the top war. Even if everyone is embarrassed and doesn't try their best, they can still contain Marine's high-end combat power and create a chance for him to rescue Ace. Joe's advertisement. Whitebeard looked around and spoke. Father, you go to other hells first, take the living prisoners away, then meet up with Beasta, I'll be there later. Yes, father. Joe's nodded and turned away. After Jaws's figure disappeared completely, Whitebeard looked back and walked to a cell with a big knife in his hand. There are dead bodies standing upright in this cell. But in the center, there was a bright red figure sitting. The figure was still chained, and it seemed that he didn't want to leave with Whitebeard. Long time no see. Rider. Whitebeard walked in, a tall figure enveloped the bright red figure in the firelight. The Red Earl Barloric Letterfield. One of the kings of the old age, one person can keep pace with Roger and Whitebeard. After Roger was executed, he fought against the Marshal Kong. After winning, his energy was exhausted and Garp took the opportunity to put him in prison and was locked into the 6th layer of Impel Down. In the original book, Ryder will take the opportunity to flee, looking for Bat Fruit. But Whitebeard, who is in desperate need of combat power, does not want such a master to leave under his nose. I didn't expect to meet in this situation. Newgate. Ryder, dressed in a bright red gentleman's uniform, opened his eyes and looked at the enemy and friend he had not seen for many years. Goo la la la, it's been a long time since no one called me by my name. Whitebeard looked up and laughed, and the hilt of the knife slammed heavily on the prison floor. Impel Down has been broken by me. Ryder, come with me to Marineford. Chapter 11. World is terrified. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Newgate, if I were younger, maybe I would go to Marineford and have a fight with you. But now, I am old. Ryder slowly raised his head, revealing an old face under the faint firelight. The sharp and confident gaze back then was covered with muddy. In addition to that rotten body, it made him look like an old and injured lone wolf. As he said, if his body is still young, even without Whitebeard's invitation, he would go to Marineford to make a big fuss. But with the aging of the body, the aloof Ryder is no longer in the past, and has no courage to treat everything as nothing. Goo la la la. Whitebeard laughed, not disappointed. He seemed to have known that the other party would say something like this, if I give you Bat Fruit. Before coming, he knew that some prisoners were not easy to subdue. For example, the Red Earl in front of you. In the original book, after Ryder escaped from the underwater prison, he once gave up the faith in his heart and became crazy infatuated with youth. Want a person who has lost his faith to go to Marineford difficult. But he was prepared. Know that Ryder's greatest obsession is to restore youth. And the Bat Fruit is the key. What? How do you know? Ryder trembled, then raised his head abruptly, staring at Whitebeard. There was shock on his face. A pair of turbid eyes shrank into needles. Because of Whitebeard's words, he was shocked. Advertisement. He didn't even understand how Whitebeard knew he wanted Bat Fruit. That's right. After seeing Whitebeard's arrival, he had the idea of jailbreaking. And made up his mind, once he left the underwater prison, he would look for the Bat Fruit that can restore his youth, in order to restore his youth. But he never expected it. Whitebeard explained his thoughts with a single word. While this made him suspicious, it also caused a trace of panic. I know where the Bat Fruit of the Eudemon species is, and I have the ability to get the fruit. Ryder, do you understand what I mean? Whitebeard's tone became low. Quote. Ryder fell silent. He is the aloof Ryder. I hate to lie with people without any threats. Even in the face of death, he will not let go of his pride. But, that's what happened when I was young. Now he is old, having already lost his faith, the only obsession in his heart is to restore his youth. So, he couldn't refuse Whitebeard's request. Dang dang. The sound of broken chains sounded. Ryder stood up slowly, looking at Whitebeard with a complicated expression. You won. Newgate. Goo la la la. Whitebeard burst out laughing when he heard this, then turned to look at a cell next to him. World, how long are you going to pretend to be dead? Advertisement. When this word fell, everyone looked at it. I saw a corpse lying in the cell next door. On the front side of the corpse, there was a huge piece of ice, and a person was being frozen in the ice. Hey, world, is this old guy still alive? Crocodile lit a cigar and sneered looking at the frozen world. He didn't die so easily. Whitebeard Kaido. Then he raised his fist violently and slammed it down into the air. Boom. There was a loud roar. The air was directly smashed by a punch, and the fierce concussive force spread, slamming against the ice block. Just hearing a click, the ice broke. The world frozen inside also fell heavily to the ground. However, the other party did not stand up, but lay on the ground without moving, as if already dead. Father, is he really alive? Jinbei couldn't help asking. Others also showed suspicion when they heard it, because no matter how they looked at it, the person in front of him was already dead and couldn't die anymore. World, when will you pretend to be dead? Whitebeard didn't show mercy this time. The muscles of the arms swelled, and under the force of the force, they smashed into the air fiercely. Boom! A roar of terror. The air was directly smashed to pieces. The strong shock wave slammed into World lying on the ground like a raging wave. Whitebeard, are you trying to kill me? Advertisement. World, who was still pretending to be dead, suddenly jumped up in shock. Without thinking, he raised his arms and crossed them in front of him. At the same time, armament hockey was all over the body. Boom! The two collided, producing a huge roar. Then, under everyone's shocked gaze, the armament hockey's world was covered with shock waves and flew out. After hitting the iron bars of the cell, he made a loud noise, and then fell to the ground. Ahem. Whitebeard, you bastard. World coughed violently. But the gaze at Whitebeard was full of shock and confusion. Because he can't figure it out. Why does Whitebeard, who is about the same age as himself, still has this kind of strength? Just like the punch just now, Hockey couldn't resist even his arms spread all over his body. That powerful and terrifying vibration. Let him have the feeling of facing Whitebeard in his prime. This old guy is in his 70s this year, right? Speaking logically, like me, my body has declined to a certain extent, but why is there such strength? A look of surprise appeared in World's eyes. After thinking for a long time, he, who really didn't understand, suddenly felt that Whitebeard was covered with a layer of mystery. This color actually made him feel a little scared. My body hasn't recovered yet, so don't provoke Whitebeard for the time being. World decided to be honest. If you provoke the other party's dissatisfaction, come and punch yourself again. With your current state, I am afraid you will be beaten to vomit blood. Chapter 12. Bullet, be my son. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Goo la la la. World, come to Marineford with me. Whitebeard laughed loudly, as if he didn't fly him at all. Humph. I wanted to settle accounts with those bastards, Marine. World snorted. Although I don't want to go to Marineford. But he, who feels that Whitebeard is strong, knows that he can't refuse. However, as one of the strong men of the old age, he would not say this kind of thing, but continued to be hard-headed. It seems to say to everyone. I went to Marineford because I was unhappy with Marine, not because I was afraid of Whitebeard. Seeing World agree, Whitebeard nodded. Asked Jinbei to open World's cell and release the opponent. No wonder the old man didn't have any worries after he learned that the Ace brothers had been escorted ahead of time. It turned out that he was already prepared. Jinbei was full of admiration. I am even more convinced of Whitebeard's plan. If he were Whitebeard, he would never have thought of this idea. Attack Impel down first, release the prisoner, and then use the prisoner's power to rescue Ace. Look at these powerful prisoners. There is more confidence in rescuing Ace. Dang dang. Just as Jinbei exclaimed, the sound of a chain collision sounded, and the silent eternal hell seemed very harsh. Everyone was alarmed by this sound. Advertisement. Unexpectedly, besides them, there are still people alive. Whitebeard. Old man. A deep voice came. Accompanied by the clanging of chains, a tall figure stood up from the many corpses in a cell and came to the iron railing of the cell. Because of the dim fire light, people couldn't see this person clearly. What? Bullet, as a member of the Roger crew, do you want to go to Marineford and have a fight with me? Whitebeard rolled his head slightly and looked at the figure in the cell. Bullet, it's him. He is still alive. Crocodile and others were startled, and they became vigilant. Douglas Bullet, nicknamed Heir of the Devil, known as the successor of the Ghost, he was once a member of the Roger Pirates group. His strength is extremely powerful. Even the companions of the Roger Pirates group call him a monster. Under everyone's gaze, Bullet fell silent. It took a long time before people heard the sound of the chain breaking. The originally closed prison door also exploded with a loud noise, and thick smoke billowed and enveloped the surroundings. Out. A solemn color appeared on Jinbei's face. Then a figure came out in the smoke and dust. When it was fully revealed, it was discovered that it was a middle-aged man with long blonde hair, topless naked, and black pants on his lower body. Want me to go to Marineford? Bullet raised his head fiercely, staring directly at Whitebeard like a blade, with a strong sense of war in his eyes. Then let me see if you have the same strength as you used to be. Boom. The strong conqueror's hockey vented out. The surrounding cells were hit by this momentum, and there was an instant creaking sound. Advertisement. The people present felt this breath, their breathing stagnated, and a solemn color appeared in their eyes. They found that Bullet was stronger than expected. This hockey alone is worthy of the name of a crew member of One Piece. Goo la la la. Bullet, it seems that you have forgotten the original pain. Whitebeard laughed. Roger Pirates and him are old rivals. As Roger's crew member, Bullet has naturally fought him, and more than once. In the sound of laughter, Conqueror's hockey rushed out violently. Two hockey collided in the air, and a strong hurricane was born invisibly, raging around. Kang dang, kang dang, kang dang. The door of the cell was blown and swayed violently, making a violent sound. As hockey exploded, the surroundings returned to calm. Is this the collision of the world's top powerhouses? It's really beyond imagination. The evil king was secretly frightened. This guy Bullet is even better than before. Crocodile dangling his cigar, his eyes flickered, but why does old Whitebeard still have such strength? Bullet has such a strong hockey, he is not surprised at all. Because the opponent is only in his 40s and is in his prime of life, his strength has reached its peak. But what about Whitebeard? This year is over 70 years old. In his opinion, Whitebeard was indeed great when he was young, and he is known as the strongest in the world. At this age, the state should decline, hockey fell to the top. But regardless of the vibration ability just now, or the current Conqueror's hockey, it all shows that Whitebeard is not weakened at all, and is still at its peak. How on earth did this happen? Advertisement. Crocodile whispered. The gaze at Whitebeard was full of incredible. In fact, it's not just him who thinks so. Ryder and World beside them also showed shock. That's right. Just shocked. Both of them are from the same era as Whitebeard. Those who are old know best the pain caused by physical aging. But when they got to Whitebeard, they found that Whitebeard didn't seem to have this problem at all. Obviously he was over 70 years old, and he was still as good as a man. This makes the two of them feel extremely incredible. Old man Whitebeard, you still have this kind of strength now. Bullet looked excited. Perhaps because of being too excited, the body began to tremble. I thought Roger was dead, and Whitebeard was very old. No one in this world could stop him. Unexpectedly, Whitebeard is still strong. Regardless of the vibration ability or hockey, it seems to be as shocking as yesterday. But he reacted quickly. In a roar filled with excitement, he rushed towards Whitebeard. During the sprint, his fist was raised, armament hockey covered it, and with a fist, the hitting air exploded. Goo la la la. Seeing the bullet coming, Whitebeard laughed and slammed the knife heavily on the ground. Bullet, if you lose, be my son. Chapter 13. Whitebeard vs Bullet. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Then see if you are above me. Bullet yelled. The arm covered by armament hockey hit Whitebeard hard. The air was hit like this, making a series of sonic booms. In the face of such a powerful blow, Whitebeard did not evade at all, and even the ability of shock fruit was useless. Armament hockey also covers the arm. When Bullet's fist was about to hit him, he slammed a punch. Boom. The dull sound roared. The two banged fist to fist. The invisible air wave centered on the fists and spread towards the surroundings. The ground beneath his feet could not withstand this kind of impact, so it exploded directly. Goo la la la. Bullet kid, you want to challenge me, it's too early. Whitebeard smiled lowly. Speaking fiercely, armament hockey spreads his entire arm, and the force against the boom increases in vain. Boom. Bullet didn't notice for a while, and his body was beaten back several steps in a row. After stepping on the ground one by one, he could not stop. Bullet, who failed in the first collision, was not lost, but became too excited. Because he felt that feeling again. It's like facing Roger's pressure. This kind of pressure made him so excited that he couldn't help himself. Come again. There was another roar, and the body rushed away violently. Armament hockey's fists covering both hands, accompanied by a piercing sound, swung both fists vigorously. In the face of this attack, Whitebeard still has no ability to use it. Advertisement. Same as Bullet, only armament hockey is used. Boom, boom, boom. The two fisted fist to fist. A wave of air spread, and the door of the jailed cell kept swaying, making a banging sound. Monsters, all monsters. Crescent Hunter Dai Peng's forehead slipped cold sweat. I thought that the LV6 Hell prisoner himself was already very strong. But after seeing the collision between the two, he realized that there was still a long way to go between his strength and his true peak. That's natural. Crocodile sneered. Old Whitebeard is known as the strongest in the world, and the guy Bullet is a complete monster. Monster. But Whitebeard is not so easy to deal with. The corners of Ryder's mouth were curved. He doesn't know the specific strength of Bullet. But understand that if Whitebeard really stays at its peak, no matter how strong Bullet is, it can't be Whitebeard's opponent. Daddy will definitely win, Jinbei said in a deep voice. When he said this, he was not blindly worshipping. It's because Whitebeard is known as the strongest in the world. This name is enough to explain many problems. Fortunately, There was no enemy against Whitebeard at the time. Shiryu of Rain on the side was dripping with cold sweat. I feel how correct my decision was at that time. Otherwise, stop Whitebeard according to Magellan's orders. I am afraid that Whitebeard will kill him in a while. Boom. While several people were discussing, the fighting between the two sides continued. Whitebeard shook his fist violently. At its peak, even the bullet, which was infinitely close to One Piece, did not benefit from it. Instead, following Whitebeard's attack, he was forced to retreat. This farce should also end. Advertisement. Whitebeard punched Bullet back, then raised his right fist and slammed it into the air. Boom. The air splits directly. A strong shock swept across and hit Bullet. Before Bullet had time to use Armament Hockey's defense, he was shocked by the strong shock. The strong body hit the iron railing of the prison door, and then slid down. It's not over yet. Bullet quickly stood up and roared. This feeling of being completely suppressed made him both excited and angry. The excitement is because there are still such masters in the world, and it is worth surpassing him. The anger is that he is not strong enough and was suppressed by others. In the roar, he rushed out again, swept across by the iron fist covered by Armament Hockey, with a burst of air-breaking sound. Bullet Kid, you are not my opponent. Whitebeard's tone was low. Although Bullet claims to have infinitely close to the strength of One Piece. But that is in the case of using the ability of the combined fruit. Under the inability to use the ability, his own strength actually has a certain gap with the Emperor level. Speaking quickly to one side of the body, avoiding the attack. At the same time, his fists were raised and slammed down at Bullet's body. Boom. The air shattered. A terrible shock erupted. Cracks swept across Bullet's body. The opponent didn't even have time to defend, so he was thrown to the ground with a punch. As the power raged, the ground burst into pieces. What? Bullet received a heavy blow, his strong body trembled, blood sprayed out from his mouth, and then screamed. After being hit hard, he wanted to struggle to stand up. Advertisement. But it can't be done for a while. Punch. After Whitebeard was really serious, he only took a punch. Just hit Bullet down. You lose. Whitebeard looked down at Bullet as if looking down, shook his head after seeing the dissatisfied expression of the other party. No matter whether you are convinced or not, this battle is over. I still have important things to do. If you want to really challenge me, then let's wait until this matter is over. Woo. Bullet endured the pain on his body and stood up, panting hard. But he has no plans to continue. Because in a small prison, he could not use his abilities at all, nor could he maximize his strength. So he decided to stop temporarily and wait until he went out to fight Whitebeard. If he still loses, then he is willing to pay any price. Like becoming Whitebeard's. Son. If you want to continue to challenge me, then keep up. Whitebeard glanced at Bullet, then turned away with a group of people. This time Bullet did not refuse, but quickly followed. The group walked through the long prison corridor and came to the exit to the 5th floor of the extremely cold prison. But before the group of people took a step, they heard a chaotic sound of footsteps coming from a distance. Father, someone is coming. Jinbei whispered. Whitebeard nodded and looked up. Through the faint light of the fire, several figures were seen running from a distance. One of them yelled while running, expressing anxiety and excitement in their tone. Ace, I'm here to save you. Chapter 14. Straw Hat Luffy. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Ace, I'm here to save you. An anxious and excited voice sounded in the silent eternal hell, which looked unusually harsh. Under Whitebeard's gaze, 3 figures came oncoming. The first to appear was a young man wearing a red jacket and a straw hat. The straw hat boy didn't seem to expect to meet people here. While stunned, he also stopped. But as I swept my eyes, my face changed when I saw Crocodile. Crocodile. Hey, it's you, the straw hat boy. Crocodile let out a smoke ring and sneered. Straw Hat Luffy. Jinbei on the side saw Luffy and remembered everything Ace had said in the prison. Is he the brother of Brother Ace? And he really made it to the 6th floor, eternal hell. There are other intruders, it's really new. World laughed. Unexpectedly, within a day, 2 groups of people broke into the 6th level of Impel Down, something that had never happened before. But is this kid an enemy, or a friend? The corners of Ryder's mouth were curved. The palm has been quietly pressed on the hilt of the umbrella-long sword. Damn it, the crocodile is here. And are they all accomplices of the crocodile? It seems that if you want to save Ace, you must defeat these people. Luffy didn't know who Whitebeard and his party were. However, after seeing Crocodile, he directly attributed Whitebeard and others as enemies. So he gritted his teeth and opened the second gear. Advertisement. As the skin turned red, steam rose from his body and rushed towards the group of people. When he aimed at the strong man with Whitebeard in the front and holding a big knife, he shouted immediately. Rubber pistol. The arm flicked vigorously, drawing out a trail of afterimages. But before he hit the brawny man, he saw that the other party raised his arm and punched him. Boom. There was a loud noise. The air seemed to be smashed by a punch, and the terrible shock burst out. Without giving Luffy a chance to react, this shocking force swept through and hit him hard. Wow! Luffy screamed, then flew out. After falling to the ground, his body slid for a long distance before he could stop. As the severe pain spread, he trembled all over. I wanted to struggle to stand up, but the power of the punch just now seemed beyond imagination. Even if his body was made of rubber, there was a sharp pain at this time. After struggling for a long time, he couldn't get up. Okay. So strong. He raised his head to look at Whitebeard, shocked on his face. Since going to sea, he has also encountered many opponents. One of them also defeated Shichibukai. Although those opponents are strong, but he has the power to fight. But the brawny Whitebeard in front of him couldn't stand up with just one punch. And look at this person's expression. The punch just now seemed to use no strength at all. Straw Hat Boy, are you okay? The two people who followed Luffy finally came and exclaimed when they saw Luffy's tragic situation. Have you encountered an enemy? Advertisement. The Revolutionary Army Ivankov with a big exploded head and a long face looked up. But I don't know, I was shocked at first glance. When he saw a figure with a crescent beard standing in front of him, holding a big knife, he screamed in surprise, and his squatting body jumped high. You. Ivankov pointed at Whitebeard, with an incredible expression on his face. Perhaps it was so surprised that after speaking for a long time, I didn't say a complete sentence. What's wrong? Amazuna also looked up when they came together. But after seeing Whitebeard, like Ivankov, he trembled in shock and couldn't say a word. Be careful, this guy is very strong. After struggling for a long time, Luffy finally stood up. He took a hard breath and stared at Whitebeard, steam rising from his body, as if he wanted to attack. Rubber. With a loud roar, he clenched his fists fiercely. But before he could attack, Ivankov jumped up and hit Luffy's head with a punch. The Straw Hat Boy, stop me. Luffy, who didn't check for a while, was knocked to the ground with a punch. Then he raised his head and looked at Ivankov dumbfounded, wondering why the opponent stopped him. At this time Jinbei woke up too, and hurriedly said, You are the Straw Hat Luffy, hurry up and stop, we are not the enemy. Hey, the Straw Hat Boy, you are really the same as before, so impulsive no matter what you do. Crocodile sneered. Do you know who the person you just attacked was? Luffy was full of question marks. Sure enough, I was an idiot. Advertisement. Crocodile sneered at Luffy's confused look. At the same time, I was a little upset about why I lost to such a stupid boy in the first place. What did you say? Luffy glared at Crocodile dissatisfiedly. Is not it? You should be thankful that this old man is showing mercy, otherwise you are already dead with the punch just now. Crocodile spit out a smoke ring and laughed. A cadre of the Revolutionary Army. Ivankov. At this time, Whitebeard finally spoke and glanced at everyone, knowing that he had met Luffy and his party who had come to rescue Ace. I didn't expect that you would appear here. Ivankov took a deep breath and calmed himself down. Luffy on the side watched back and forth between Whitebeard and Ivankov, and finally couldn't help asking, who was he? The two people nearby almost fell to the ground when they heard this. Then I saw Ivankov grabbing Luffy's collar and constantly shaking the other person's body. Straw Hat Boy, don't you even know him? Quote ? Luffy looked confused. In New World, there are 4 kings above all pirates, and one of them is known as the strongest in the world. Ivankov spoke in a deep voice, and then looked at Whitebeard very solemnly, and this person in front of me is the one known as the 4 emperors, Whitebeard. Whitebeard. Luffy's eyes widened, and he remembered everything Ace had said to him. He is just as famous as Shanks Whitebeard. It's also from Ace. Father. ... Flicked his arms fiercely. The full burst of power in the peak state blasted his fists into the air. The air seemed to be shattered, and cracks appeared, quickly spreading around. Boom. Air, earth, ocean. At this moment, everything that can be seen shakes violently. The 10,000-foot-high waves lifted up, and the ground burst like an earth dragon overturned, forming a huge crack. The terrible shock force surged and hit the poisonous skeleton. Boom. The skull burst like a balloon. The sky was full of venom, but it was isolated by the force of the shock. And as the concussion spread, Magellan was also in shock, and was hit and flew out, setting it on the city wall. When the vibration disappears completely, the waves turned into heavy rain and fell back into the sea, while Magellan fell to the ground with blood on his face and passed out completely. One strike. Whitebeard only took one blow. Impelled down the Warden Magellan defeat. Seeing this, everyone present changed their colors. Chapter 16. Blackbeard stunned. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Okay. So awesome. Luffy stammered and looked at Magellan, who had fainted, shocked in his heart. Just yesterday, he played against Magellan. And it was solved instantly by the other party. But this powerful enemy was defeated by Whitebeard. This made him thoroughly feel the strength of being known as the strongest man in the world. Of course, Ivankov was not surprised. Whitebeard is the king who existed in the old days. Although Magellan's strength is good, it is a certain distance from Whitebeard. Hey, Daddy claims to be the strongest in the world, how could Magellan be an opponent? Joes and Beasta looked at each other, their faces full of pride. Really, Whitebeard, your strength is still at its peak. Ryder murmured. Magellan said that being strong is not very strong, at least not as good as Marine Admiral. But if it is weak, it is definitely not weak, otherwise it will not be sent to guard Impel Down. If you change him to Magellan, even if you have the confidence to win, it won't be so easy. But here is Whitebeard. It only took one blow. One strike. It will defeat Magellan, known as the Iron Wall. While this shocked him deeply, it was also completely certain that Whitebeard's strength had not declined. You said. What method did Whitebeard use to maintain his peak strength? World asked fiercely. Do not know. Advertisement. Ryder shook his head. His knowledge is also extraordinary. But I don't understand why Whitebeard is in his 70s. Old Whitebeard. Bullet on the side was full of excitement. Since Roger's death, he has been confused and completely lost his goal. Now that Whitebeard is still strong, he has found someone who wants to surpass. If it is not a condition, it is not allowed. He will definitely challenge Whitebeard. When everyone was shocked, a voice came from Whitebeard's ear. Looking up, he saw a card that only he could see, appearing in front of him. The second card. Whitebeard's eyes narrowed. He was reborn as Whitebeard, and at the same time bound a card system. But after getting the newbie gift pack card, I never got another card. Even if 23 warships were destroyed with one blow, and the prisoners who crushed eternal hell. In other words, the prerequisite for defeating an opponent to obtain a card is that the opponent has a certain strength and is still in a hostile state. Ordinary battles and defeating some weak enemies will not drop cards at all. Whitebeard's eyes flashed. For the law of card falling, I have a general understanding. Thinking of picking up the card, he glanced at it. Double combat power. Use this card to gain double combat power based on yourself, for 3 minutes. Double strength card. Although I was happy in my heart, it didn't show it on my face. This card is very useful for now. Although the duration is only 3 minutes, 3 minutes can already do a lot. Father, there is news from Marco. At this moment, the phone worm in Beasta's hand rang, and when he saw this, he hurried over. Advertisement. Whitebeard nodded and took the phone worm. Marco. Father, we have bypassed the gate of justice and arrived at Marineford. Are we going to launch an assault now? There was a voice on the phone. You are waiting at the bottom of the sea. As for when to launch an assault, wait for my notice. Whitebeard Kaido. They are still Impel Down, and if Marco is allowed to attack, they are definitely not Marine's opponents. After they arrive at Marineford, it will not be too late to attack. Clear. Marco replied and then hung up. Whitebeard also put away the phone worm and strode towards the mobile. Others see this and quickly keep up. But before the group of people boarded the ship, they heard the sound of a crash. Everyone looked up and found a 3-masted sailing ship with the flag of 3 skeletons rushing from a distance. The sailboat seemed to be out of control and slammed into the port of Impel Down. Boom. There was a loud noise. As the smoke billowed, the sight was blocked. After the smoke dissipated, a cough and anger sounded. Damn it, how could a huge wave suddenly appear? Fortunately, not far from Impel Down, otherwise we will be buried under the sea. Hip hop ha ha, although we have encountered some changes, we still arrived here, let's get ashore. Several voices came. Under the gaze of Whitebeard and others, several people walked out of the smoke. The leader is a middle-aged man. The man has a rough appearance, thick hair on the body, and under the fluffy hair is a big mouth with a few teeth missing. At this time, the man was walking with his mouth wide open, and he looked not only happy, but also extremely arrogant. The man's name is Marshall D. Teach. Advertisement. Known as Blackbeard, the original crew of the Whitebeard pirates killed their companions for dark fruit, and then defeated Ace, forcing Ace to be arrested. Is the culprit of this war. The reason why I came to Impel Down is to select crew members from Impel Down and enhance my strength. When I passed the gate of justice just now, there was a wave of water on the surface of the sea inexplicably. The unlucky group of people almost overturned the ship and the people, and it took a lot of work before they crashed into the port of Impel Down without any risk. Hip hop haha. Sengoku has summoned all marine forces to Marineford. Even if we make a big fuss in Impel Down, there will be no reinforcements to come and support. Blackbeard was proud. He had already thought about it. As long as he gathered a strong crew, he would immediately go to Marineford to take advantage of the fisherman's profit. At that time, he will be the biggest winner of this war. Ship. Captain. Just when Blackbeard was complacent about his strategy, Raffet swallowed and pulled Blackbeard's sleeve, his arm tremblingly pointed to the side. You, look there. What? Blackbeard looked suspiciously. Just now, because of the waves and collisions, they did not see clearly that there was another ship beside the harbor. Now that the smoke has disappeared, everything in the port has become clear. And Blackbeard also saw that beside his own ship, there was still a huge sailing ship docked like a whale. More importantly, this ship is very familiar to him. Moby Dick. Blackbeard's eyes widened, then his head tremblingly turned. After seeing the tall figure with a crescent moon beard, the whole person froze in place. The originally contented face was instantly filled with shock. His trembling hands also hugged his head, screaming in disbelief. Whitebeard. Papa. ... Chapter 17. Blackbeard was scared to run off. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Whitebeard. Papa. Blackbeard held his head in his hands, his face filled with disbelief. Looking at the familiar figure in front of me, a trace of fear spread from the bottom of my heart, and then went straight to the brain. Perhaps it is because of too much fear. The original steady footsteps backed up for a while, and fell to the ground badly. He never dreamed that he would meet Whitebeard in Impel Down, and he would meet him in person. Thinking back to Whitebeard's attitude towards him, he couldn't help being scared. Understand that he who killed his companion will never be forgiven. Boat. Captain, what should I do now? Raffet was dripping with cold sweat. If it is someone else, he still has the courage to fight. But this person is Whitebeard. The strongest man in the world, the king of the old age who was comparable to the One Piece King Roger. In the face of such a powerful opponent, he simply did not have the courage to fight. And more importantly, there was more than one Whitebeard, and a lot of masters followed behind him. Among them, he knew more than one. Confronting with their current strength is completely looking for death. Run. Blackbeard awakened in a shocked spirit, and yelled, everyone, run. He is not a fool, he can even be said to be an extremely smart person. From winning Dark Fruit, becoming Shichibukai, and then being promoted to the new 4 emperors, you can know the cunning and cleverness of Blackbeard from this. So he is clear and sober. Knowing that he was unharmed against Whitebeard, even if he had the Dark Fruit ability, there would be only a dead end. Only by running, there may be a silver lining. Advertisement. Damn. Why did Dad show up here? Didn't he go to Marineford? Blackbeard's face was full of fear. I don't understand why there are loopholes in my plan. Of course, none of this matters anymore. The important thing is to run quickly. Hurry up and leave Impel Down, stay away from that man. Captain, wait for us. The other crew members were stunned, and they didn't expect Blackbeard to be so stunned, and ran away as soon as they saw Whitebeard. But he reacted immediately and quickly followed up. It's Teach. When a group of people arrived in a hurry and fled in a hurry, Whitebeard and others woke up. When Joe saw Blackbeard, he shouted in anger. I didn't expect to meet this traitor here. Beasta's eyes were full of killing intent. Why was Ace caught, and why did the Whitebeard pirates go to war with Marine? All of this comes from Blackbeard. At this time, the culprit was right in front of him, letting his killing intent reach its peak. Blackbeard. Crocodile sneered with a cigar in his mouth, and at the same time a flash of disdain flashed in his eyes. But I was too courageous, I was scared to flee. It's him. Luffy on the side clenched his fists. He knows Blackbeard. But I didn't expect that the other party was Blackbeard who caused Ace to be arrested. The anger is rising in my heart, I can't wait to beat it up. Teach. Advertisement. Whitebeard spoke in a low voice, looking at Blackbeard who was fleeing in embarrassment. Without any hesitation, he raised his arm and punched the air hard. Give me, stay. Boom. A loud noise. The air produced cracks and horrible shocks erupted. The vibrating ball of light crushed the ground, rushed towards Blackbeard, and exploded violently. Boom. The fleeing Blackbeard group only felt the ground tremble, and then found that the ground collapsed and the whole person fell. Thick smoke billowed and enveloped that direction. It took a long time before a cough came. Ahem. It's really not merciful at all. Blackbeard's figure walked out of the smoke and dust, the original flustered face had been replaced by a hideous face. After the blow just now, he already knew. I can't escape at all. The only way to survive now is to defeat Whitebeard. Wanting to understand this, he immediately strengthened his faith and prepared to fight Whitebeard. Asshole. You killed Sachi, you still want Dad to be merciful. Joes heard the yelling, his face was full of anger. Teach, you must die today. Beasta also drew out the long sword, and a fierce killing intent filled the surroundings. Of all people, you are the only one who is not worthy of being my son. Teach. Whitebeard smashed the knife on the ground heavily, and his voice became extremely low. You violated the only iron rule on my ship, killed your companion. I want to take off your idiot's head and give Sachi's spirit in the sky an explanation. The words fell, and the murderous intent swept across. Under this strong killing intent, the surrounding temperature seemed to drop more than 10 degrees, causing everyone to tremble. Advertisement. Old Whitebeard is angry. Crocodile, who was standing next to Whitebeard, only felt the pressure increased, and cold sweat slipped from his forehead. This is the killing intent displayed by the strongest man in the world when he is angry. Even if there is no action, it is shocking. Rain Shiryu's heart beats. Under the influence of the overwhelming killing intent, he felt stiffness in his limbs. Valorolo. To make Whitebeard so angry, it seems that this guy really offended him. There was a gloating look in World's eyes. At the same age as Whitebeard, he knew how terrifying Whitebeard was after his anger. So in his eyes, Blackbeard was already dead. Vengeance for Sachi. Beasta swung his long sword, trying to shoot. But before he took any steps, he was blocked by Whitebeard. Father. Beasta looked suspiciously. No one is allowed to shoot. Whitebeard's tone was low and harsh, and his eyes stared at Blackbeard like blades. Teach, confess to Sachi in hell. Stabbed. Sword swing. A stab containing the power of shock turned into the most terrifying blow. The earth was smashed by a single slash, and countless fragments splashed, making a rumble sound. In the blink of an eye, the shock rushed to Blackbeard. It seems to want to tear the other party to pieces. Chapter 18. Blackbeard inflated. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Boom. There was a roar and smoke billowed. But people soon discovered that Whitebeard's supreme shock power was slowly disappearing, as if absorbed by something. When the smoke cleared, Blackbeard's figure appeared. In the previous hit, the opponent was unscathed. Hip hop ha ha, do you think I'm the same me before? Blackbeard raised his head and laughed triumphantly, and then looked at Whitebeard proudly. Daddy. You two underestimated me. The words fell, and the black gas rose from the body, burning like a flame. What is this? A look of astonishment appeared on Luffy's face. Dark Fruit's ability. Joes and Beasta looked solemn, and at the same time became vigilant. Father. Did you see it? This is my current strength. A trace of drunkenness flashed in Blackbeard's eyes. Speaking and slapped his hands to the ground, the black gas spread like a tide, rushing to Whitebeard quickly. It only took a while to submerge the surrounding area. Secret Point Road. Blackbeard spit out 3 words. The black gas soared because of this, turned into a round of black Uzumaki, and then exploded violently. This is the ability I got when I killed Sachi. Ace was also defeated by this ability and was captured by Marine, so try it. In the words, the surroundings began to sink. Some broken stones were directly swallowed by black gas. Blackbeard, who witnessed all this, was even more intoxicated on his face. This intoxication even made him forget that the person he was facing was Whitebeard, and he spoke a series of proud words. Advertisement. Saki is dead, and Ace will die too. Father, I once respected and admired you from the bottom of my heart. But you are old, your era has passed, and the name of the next era will be Blackbeard. Hip hop ha ha. Blackbeard raised his head and laughed, his face filled with delight. At this moment, he was completely lost in the power of Dark Fruit. Inexplicable and absurd self-confidence was born in his heart, and felt that he could defeat Whitebeard. Asshole. Beasta was furious. Does this idiot really think he is the opponent of the old man? Joes clenched his fists. Had it not been for Whitebeard had just said that he was not allowed to shoot, he would have rushed forward. Hey, where does this guy's confidence come from? Crocodile, with his cigar in his mouth, sneered somewhat puzzledly. Just now, Blackbeard was frightened and fled. But after using Dark Fruit's ability, he became so arrogant and even dared to satirize Whitebeard. More arrogantly, the next era is called Blackbeard. Poor worm lost in power. Bullet is extremely disdainful. He knew why Blackbeard had this contrast. The fundamental reason is that he is too confident in his own abilities, and the arrogance in his heart completely covers up the panic in his heart, so much so. But in his opinion, Blackbeard is just an idiot whose eyes are lost by his ability. Teach. Whitebeard looked sharp, raised his fist, and slammed it down in the low voice. Boom. Advertisement. The force of the shock spread rapidly. But Blackbeard didn't look flustered at all, instead he looked confident. It's useless. In front of my ability, everything will become nothingness. He raised his arm covered in black gas and rushed towards Whitebeard. As the darkness erupts, it will be swallowed by shocks. Seeing that he took the blow from Whitebeard, Blackbeard swelled completely, and this swelling made him speak for nothing. Hip hop ha ha. Did you see it, Daddy? This is my current ability. Even Devil Fruit's ability can be absorbed and made it incapacitated. In other words, you can no longer cause an earthquake. When Whitebeard heard this, the expression on his face did not fluctuate, but attacked again. The ball of light appeared on the fist, and then smashed down. But as Blackbeard raised his arm, the black gas spread, and the power of the vibration disappeared again. It's useless, Daddy. Blackbeard laughed, saying that there was a flash of madness in his eyes, raised another fist, and smashed it at Whitebeard's stomach. Yes, as long as I beat the old man here, then I don't have to go to Marineford to get the shock fruit ability. This thought emerged, making him hideous. The power of blasting a fist has also become stronger. But the fist hadn't touched Whitebeard. A low and murderous voice exploded from his ears. Teach. Senran's voice sounded. Blackbeard looked up fiercely, but saw a pair of extremely sharp eyes and a palm all over armament hockey. You who are addicted to the power of fruits have become so stupid. Snapped. Advertisement. Grab the palm. Under Blackbeard's stunned gaze, Whitebeard actually grabbed Blackbeard's neck directly. With one effort, lift the opponent high. Sentimentally stared at each other. Feeling the cold eyesight, Blackbeard was in a state of arrogance, and he was awakened by a violent spirit. At this moment, he remembered. This person in front of me is Whitebeard. The strongest man in the world. Just now he actually wanted to kill the opponent and snatch the opponent's abilities. Looking at that Senran face, the originally suppressed fear reappeared in his heart, making him tremble all over. His face became distorted because of fear. The body was shaking constantly, completely losing resistance. Old Daddy, forgive me. Blackbeard spoke hard, perhaps because he was too scared, and his voice was full of panic and became extremely shrill. But before he could finish speaking, he saw Whitebeard raise his fist. Teach. Go to hell to repent. Boom. The explosion roared. The force of the shock erupted like a raging wave and hit Blackbeard's head hard. The terrible power raged, and blasted Blackbeard out, spraying blood all over the sky, and then smashing to the ground. Quiet. There was silence all around. Everyone looked at this scene in shock. Unexpectedly, Blackbeard, who was so arrogant just now, would be blown away by Whitebeard, without even the basic ability to resist. Chapter 19. The end of Blackbeard. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Quote. A group of people watched this scene blankly. Everyone had a look of astonishment and shock on their faces. Blackbeard, who was clamoring for invincibility just now, was directly hit by a punch and flew out. This huge contrast made people unresponsive for a while. Blackbeard just lost. Ivankov covered his big face and screamed exaggeratedly. From the fight to the end, it only takes a few minutes. This is also too fast. So strong. Luffy clenched his fist tightly. It was the first time he saw such a powerful existence after going to sea for so long. No matter who the opponent is, it seems that it can be solved with just one or two punches. Whitebeard in anger is really terrible. Ryder chuckled. But he was not too surprised. After all, he is a strong man in the same era as Whitebeard, knowing how strong Whitebeard is in his peak state. Hey, that idiot Blackbeard forgot. In addition to the ability of shock fruit, old Whitebeard, hockey is also very good. Crockler sneered. Saki and Ace's revenge can finally be reported today. Joes laughed, feeling all the anger in his heart vented at this moment. Yes. Beasta nodded and looked at Whitebeard's gaze, even more respectful. Captain. Blackbeard's crew woke up at this moment. Looking at Blackbeard, who was blown out, an anxious look appeared on his face. Advertisement. They and Blackbeard are both prosperous and ruined. If Blackbeard dies, they will suffer too. Do it. Raffet yelled and wanted to shoot. But Joes, Beasta and Jinbei blocked the front. That's Dad's battle, you don't want to intervene. Beasta drew out his long sword, with a cold killing intent in his eyes. Speaking of which, these crew members of Blackbeard were also the chief culprits of this war. Regarding the enemy, he never thought of letting it go. Papa Whitebeard has a great favor to Murlocs, and Papa's enemy is also my enemy. Jinbei took a karate pose, with a very firm tone. Damn it. Raffet and others' complexions changed drastically, knowing that they could not support the captain. And not only is it unable to support it, but it is also possible to fold it in. Because these three people are the former Shichibukai Jinbei and the captain of the Whitebeard pirates. Not only are everyone not weaker than them, but they may also be stronger than them. Do it. Beasta drank. The long swords in his hands were crossed and his arms swung vigorously. Stabbed. The harsh sound exploded. The sharp sword light appeared like lightning, and the cold murderous intent passed over the Blackbeard crew, making several people's hair terrified. Murloc karate. Jinbei on the side also shot immediately, slamming his right palm. The bastard who caused Ace to be caught, I will never let it go easily. Joes roared, the light of the diamond climbed up his arms, and as his feet crushed the ground, his body rushed out. Boom, boom, boom. Advertisement. The battle between the crew started. The power raged, breaking the ground to pieces. At this time, Blackbeard, who was blown out by a punch, also got up with blood on his face. He clutched his head and staggered, seeming to fall down at any time. Hey, you can stand up so quickly under this kind of attack, just like a straw hat boy. Crocodile sneered. It's a bit of strength. Ryder smiled. If someone else was hit by Whitebeard, he would have fainted long ago. Just like Magellan just now, he lost his fighting ability. But Blackbeard was able to stand up, not to mention whether the opponent was better than Magellan, but to say that the ability to resist beatings was definitely above Magellan. How about standing up? The weak are the weak after all. Even if they stand up again, they will only lose their victory later, and they will not escape the fate of death. Bullet showed disdain. In his opinion, there is no difference between dying earlier and dying later. Without being able to fight Whitebeard, Blackbeard's struggle is nothing more than a useless resistance from the weak. After several people talked, Blackbeard was completely awake. But before he could make any moves, he saw a tall figure standing in front of him. Look up. What I saw was a pair of sharp eyes. Old Daddy. A look of fear flashed in Blackbeard's eyes. The punch just now made him completely awake. Understand that even if he has the dark fruit ability, he is not his opponent. Teach. Advertisement. Whitebeard's voice was extremely low, and his tall body completely covered Blackbeard's figure under the sunlight. Make Blackbeard look like a wounded cub. Fragile. And powerless. Old Papa. Forgive me. Blackbeard smiled more ugly than crying, begging Whitebeard to let himself go. I was wrong. I shouldn't kill Sachi, let alone act on Ace. Please give me a chance to change it. He was really scared. Fear that Whitebeard would do it to himself. I am afraid that my ambitions and dreams have not been realized, and I will die here. Facing the fear of death, he was struggling. Hope to continue the life that is about to die through pleading. Pity. Useless. Whitebeard didn't look at the other person more, but grabbed his arm violently, his tone stubbornly and decisively. I don't have a son who harmed my partner. Snapped. He lifted Blackbeard. With the force of the arm, throw the opponent out. At the same time, the right hand shook, and the broad knife was pulled out with a violent sound of breaking through the air, and then slashed towards the falling Blackbeard. Stabbed. The blood sprayed and fell like raindrops. A huge cut was cut in front of Blackbeard, causing him to scream and fall to the ground fiercely. Then he clutched his chest and kept wailing. Whitebeard turned a deaf ear to this scream and walked step by step. When he came to Blackbeard's side, the hilt of the big knife hit the opponent's palm heavily. At the same time, raising his fist, a ball of light appeared, smashing down fiercely. It's over. Teach. Asterisk. Chapter 20. The Death of Blackbeard. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Father, stop. I'm your son, are you really going to kill me? Blackbeard yelled in horror. But unfortunately, Whitebeard was not moved at all. The light group containing the power of shock slammed down. My ambitions and dreams have not been realized, how can I die here? Blackbeard's pupils shrank into needle-like ridges. Under the threat of death, the body's strength poured out. Liberation. A stern roar. Black gas rose up from the body. Immediately afterwards, various rubble emerged from the gas and slammed into Whitebeard. Dark fruit can not only swallow everything like a black hole. It can release the swallowed things even more. And these rubbles were what Blackbeard had just swallowed with the dark cavern road. A large amount of rubble was released, seeming to want to stop Whitebeard's attack. But Whitebeard ignored it. The fist still falls. Boom. There was a loud noise. A strong vibration erupted, and the ground was as fragile as tofu, which exploded directly, and countless debris splashed around. And Blackbeard also flew out with this blow, smashing to the ground fiercely. Blood oozes from the body, staining the ground red. Has it ended? World said as he watched Blackbeard lying motionless on the ground. No. Not yet. Advertisement. Ryder's eyes flashed. Everyone listened to this. Blackbeard, who was lying on the ground, was trembling, apparently not dead. Hey. Crocodile sneered with his cigar in his mouth and glanced at Luffy at the same time. It's really a member of the D family. It really has the same characteristics when it comes to anti-beating. When he faced Luffy, it was like this. No matter how you attack, the opponent will stand up again and again like Xiaoqiang. This made him wonder whether the two had cockroach genes. To live is just to suffer more sins. Bullet showed disdain. The others nodded after hearing it, and their gazes at Blackbeard were full of mockery and pity. There was a heavy gasp. Blackbeard, who was badly injured, struggled to his knees on the ground. Looking at the blood on the ground, feeling the temperature in it, a trace of ecstasy appeared on his face. He is not dead. He was still alive and did not die because of it. As if the joy of rebirth filled his mind, he almost laughed wildly. But he didn't have time to be happy. A deep voice rang from my ears. Teach. The sound of calm footsteps came, and the light above his head suddenly became dim, and a tall figure with a crescent beard covering his whole body. Blackbeard, who was still ecstatic, trembled suddenly. He finally remembered. Now is not the time to be happy. Because Whitebeard is on the side, and he has a strong killing intent on himself. Advertisement. In fear and panic, he turned his head stiffly. The face that made him desperate appeared again. Old Daddy, forgive me. Blackbeard's body was shaking constantly, Perhaps because he was too scared, his voice became sharp. But he was greeted with a punch. Boom. There was a loud noise. The light ball containing the shocking power hit Blackbeard's face fiercely. The ground was crumbling, and Blackbeard's body was crushed by the force, sinking deep into the earth. What? A scream came from Blackbeard's mouth, and the blood was spraying continuously. That's horrible. Shiryu of Rain is dripping with cold sweat. Once again, I was grateful that I didn't fight Whitebeard, otherwise I wouldn't end up any better than Blackbeard. Too cruel. Crescent Hunter Dai Peng whispered. I thought I was called the most ferocious female prisoner, which was cruel enough. But after seeing Whitebeard sling Blackbeard, he realized that he was a kind little sheep. This is the fate of killing a companion. Beasta and Joes didn't have any mercy, but their hearts were smooth. Blackbeard is a rebel. They will not show any mercy to the rebels. Boom. Whitebeard's attack continued. It has to be said that the anti-beating ability of the D family is indeed strong. Advertisement. Blackbeard, who has been subjected to 3 consecutive shock attacks, has not yet died, just like Xiaoqiang of immune to death. Certainly, it is impossible for the opponent to be so badly injured. The scarred Blackbeard was looking at Whitebeard desperately at this time, knowing that without anyone helping him, he would definitely die. I haven't found One Piece yet, how can the journey end like this? Blackbeard screamed. He wants to win the big secret treasure and become the man of One Piece. For this ambition, he did not hesitate to forbear for more than 20 years, and finally got the dark fruit he dreamed of. Then just win the ability of shock fruit. He will become the strongest in the world. Now that there is only one step left from his ambitions and dreams, how can he die willingly? One Piece. Whitebeard looked at the dying Blackbeard indifferently, and uttered the desperate words, the person Roger is waiting for is definitely not you. Teach. You don't have the potential to be a king. When Blackbeard heard this, his eyes widened. Then he saw the light ball containing the shocking power, and hit his head fiercely. Boom. The ground bursts. Blackbeard was also hit deep into the ground in despair. Even if the D family resisted, facing Whitebeard's attacks, they couldn't bear it. The blood stained the ground, and his body stopped moving. Blackbeard, who disturbed the situation in the original book and might become Luffy's greatest enemy, was killed. Chapter 21. The Final Place, Marineford. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Blackbeard is dead. According to the trajectory in the original book, he will summon a powerful crew in Impel Down, and then stir the situation on top of the war and become the victor of this battle. However, as the plot changed, he met Whitebeard. All ambitions and dreams have turned into nothingness. Teach. Whitebeard looked at Blackbeard's body without any pity in his eyes. Then he grabbed his hand and a card appeared in the palm of his hand. After killing Blackbeard, he got another card. Physical recovery. Although it cannot restore peak state, change birth, aging, sickness, and death, it can heal physical trauma and regenerate severed limbs. Recover the physical body. Whitebeard was silent for a while, and then said in a weak and inaudible voice, maybe it will work for that guy. After speaking, he put the card away. At this moment, the group also woke up and looked at the dead Blackbeard with mixed expressions. That guy is dead. Luffy opened his mouth, and finally fell silent. Speaking of it, Blackbeard is his enemy, and Ace was arrested. For Blackbeard, he can't wait to beat him up. But Blackbeard is another person who firmly believes in the existence of the great secret treasure. Stick to your dreams just like him. So for Blackbeard's death, he was not particularly happy. It really is the old man Whitebeard, facing his former son, he did not show mercy. Crocodile sneered. Blackbeard is not Whitebeard's son. He is just a rebel. Will you be merciful to the rebels? Ryder laughed. Advertisement. Of course. Not anymore. Crocodile spit out a smoke ring, Kaido without hesitation. But no matter who he is, he will never forgive a person who betrays him. And this person also wanted to kill himself, which is even more so. Valorolo. A betrayer can never be forgiven easily. World laughed ridiculously, and his face became gloomy, as if thinking of bad memories. This guy is finally dead. Joes laughed, tears of laughter streaming down. Did you see Sachi? That bastard Teach is finally dead. This is the fate of the betrayer. Beasta hummed. As he said, he immediately retracted his gaze, shaking his hands fiercely, and a crescent sword light rose into the sky. Raffet, who was flying in the sky, looked horrified at this time. Unexpectedly, his captain would die so easily. Master's duel, 1,000 miles away from the slightest difference. In this brief loss of consciousness, he was swept by Jian Mang, and the white wings behind him were directly cut off by a sword. Rafid, who lost a wing, fell from the sky. 2 swords. Beasta's eyes narrowed and he seized the opportunity. The toe of his right foot was on the ground, and the powerful force shattered the rock, and his body rushed out like thunder and lightning. Stabbed. A sharp light flashed across. The cold murderous intent flicked Rafet's face, making him stiff as if he had fallen into an ice cave. When I wake up and want to resist. The blazing brilliance appeared immediately, covering his eyes. Advertisement. Die. Beasta rushed forward. The double swords in his hand slashed across the cross. With a sound of cutting, blood and head shot up into the sky. Before Rafet could let out a scream, he was beheaded by Beasta. Boom. The corpse fell heavily to the ground, blood staining the ground. Rafet. Seeing this, the other Blackbeard crew members shouted out in panic. Jinbei also seized this opportunity, pushing his arms, and the powerful force pushed Burgess out, vomiting blood. The crew of Blackbeard are all powerful people. But don't forget, Joes, Beasta, and Jinbei are facing them. With all the efforts of the three people, the Blackbeard crew was crushed. What? The screams sounded, and then calm again. The Blackbeard pirates, from arriving at Impel Down, to the destruction of all, only took less than 20 minutes. It's finally over. Rain Shiryu breathed out a smoke ring, and then looked at Whitebeard. Jinbei. As if feeling everyone's gaze, Whitebeard also looked at Jinbei. Jinbei ran over quickly. After Whitebeard said a few words in the other's ear, Jinbei immediately went to the beach and found a warship. Let Jinbei steer the warship, but it doesn't mean that the mobile can't hold so many people. But warships can take them through the gates of justice. Because when Blackbeard and his team came to Impel Down, they were already Hypnosis Marine. Advertisement. So warships will become an important part of the attack on Marineford. Gu la la la. Sengoku, I'm going there soon. Are you ready? Whitebeard let out a deep laugh, then raised his broad knife sharply, and walked towards the Moby Dick without turning his head. I'm finally going to save Ace. Joes and Beasta looked at each other, eyes full of excitement. Valorolo, are you going to have a big fight there next? You can take revenge on those bastards Marine. And in this war, I want to announce to the world, my return. World laughed with arms akimbo. Marineford, what are the strong ones out there? Bullet's eyes flickered. The reason why he agreed to go to naval headquarters. One is because I want to challenge Whitebeard. Second, I also want to go to naval headquarters to avenge the original revenge and challenge the masters in Marine. Now finally going there, the war intent in my heart can no longer be suppressed. This battle will resound through the sea. We who are in Uzumaki, do we head up and return to the sea, or are we sunk by Uzumaki and become the losers of this era? Crocodile's tone became sharp. After everyone set foot on the Moby Dick with different thoughts. As the water waves rolled, the two large ships took everyone to the final destination Marineford. Chapter 22. Redhead vs. Kaido. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Every corner of the world. After Marine announced the news of the execution of Ace, everyone knew that the Whitebeard pirates and Marine would have a battle. As predicted, soon after the news came out, people got another news. That was the destruction of the 23 warships monitoring the Whitebeard pirates, and the Whitebeard pirates disappeared from the sea. As soon as the news came out, it immediately caused a shocking wave. An unnamed island in New World. A large number of three-masted sailing ships docked on the coast, and each sailing ship was hung with a skull flag with double horns. If other pirates see this flag, they will be surprised. Because of this flag, it is one of the New World Four Emperors, the pirate flag of Kaido. So many boats are now docked on the side of the island. Needless to think about it, Kaido may be on the island. Somewhere on the island is Rocky. A tall and burly middle-aged man with a black shawl, a pair of horns and a beard like a dragon's beard on his mouth, was leaning on a boulder, sipping wine. Although the man leaned on the boulder without image. But there was a strong breath coming out of his body, from which we can judge how strong this man is. Beast Kaido, one of the New World Four Emperors. It is known as the strongest creature among all living creatures in the sea, land and air. Advertisement. As a pirate, he suffered 7 defeats and was arrested 18 times when he challenged Marine and 4 emperors alone. He was also tortured more than 1,000 times and sentenced to death 40 times. But even so, still not dead. So old man Whitebeard has already left. Kaido spoke drunkly, lifting up the wine gourd and pouring the wine into his mouth. 23 warships monitoring Whitebeard were destroyed. Moreover, they were not found on Whitebeard's site. Obviously they are heading to Marineford. He is tall and strong, with ivory-like decorations on his head and shoulders, Jack Shen Sheng Kaido. Yes. Kaido opened his eyes sharply, and squeezed the wine gourd with a squeeze, letting the wine spill all over. But he didn't care, but stood up in a staggering way. The drunken gaze became extremely sharp. Do you want to do it? Jack the Drow said excitedly. Of course. Old man Whitebeard is not comparable to other idiots. He is a real monster. Once he goes to Marineford, he will definitely turn it upside down. I really want to see how the last glory of the old age died out. Kaido's expression became fierce, and then strode towards the huge ship by the sea, but the old man Whitebeard is still not Marine's opponent. Since he is going to lose his life for a little boy, I will take over his territory. New World. 4 emperors stand side by side. Every emperor has his own territory. Now that Whitebeard and Marine are facing each other, it is the best time for other emperors to strengthen their own strength. Facing this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, Kaido will naturally not let it go. Advertisement. A certain sea area in New World. A 3-masted sailing ship with 2 red-barred skull flags sailed on the calm sea. On the ship, several crew members sat on the ground, seeming to be discussing something. One of them was a well-proportioned man with short red hair and 3 scars on his left eye. He was sitting in the center with his brows furrowed. Redhead Shanks, one of the New World 4 emperors. I worked as an intern in the Roger Pirates. After the Roger Pirates was disbanded, Red Hair Pirates was founded, and he was on the New World throne a few years ago. The worrying thing still happened. Redhead Shanks sighed. What Whitebeard cares most about is his relatives. Marine caught the Fire Fist ace. With Whitebeard's character, he would never ignore it. But if Whitebeard is killed by this battle and the balance of the sea is broken, the world will fall into turmoil. It seems. A new era is coming. Deputy Captain Ben Beckman, with gray hair, a long face and a pointed chin, a straight nose, and a distinct facial line, said slowly. New era. Lackey Lu, who is obese and wears small colored sunglasses, smiles. The so-called new era is the era in which a group of bastards who burn, kill and loot at sea in the name of treasure hunting live. This new era is really full of with a foul smell. Don't say that. There are still some good newcomers on the sea, don't you think so? Captain. Usopp with a dirty braid smiled, and looked at the red hair aside. Indeed. The red hair thought of Luffy, a smile on his face, but was soon shrouded in seriousness, but now is not the time to discuss the new era. According to the news, Kaido is ready to attack Whitebeard's turf. Advertisement. Humph. Although he has an immortal body, he is an out-and-out villain who acts and does things. Whitebeard didn't dare to do anything when he was still alive. When someone left, he would attack immediately. Such insidious people would dare to be called 4 emperors. Usopp snorted. It seems to be extremely disdainful of Kaido's behavior. In this sea, there is no morality at all. Since Roger's time, strength has always been respected. Because of this, Kaido was able to ascend the position of 4 emperors. Although Kaido is despicable, once Whitebeard's territory is acquired by him, his power will prevail over everyone, and the balance that has finally been formed will also be broken. Ben Beckman said quietly while smoking a cigarette. Then Lackey Lu bit the chicken leg in his hand and looked at the redhead vaguely. The balance that is finally formed can't be easily broken by Kaido. Also, no matter how Whitebeard is my friend, how can he let a hungry wolf plunder his wealth when his friend is out? The red hair stood up and drew his sword sharply. Since Kaido wants to attack Whitebeard's territory, let's pass our level first. The group of people on the boat showed sharp smiles after hearing it. Since Whitebeard is not here, then let them be Kaido opponents. Seeing that the crew did not object, the red hair strode to Yanbian of the ship, staring into the distance, and sighed inwardly. I don't know if I have a chance to drink together. Whitebeard. Chapter 23. World Turmoil. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. New World. In the Endless Sea, there is a small island composed of big cakes and cream, which stands in the middle of the sea. This small island is called Cake Island. It is one of the 4 emperors, Bigmom, Charlotte Linlin, stationed in New World. Today, on the shore of Cake Island, there are a dozen 3-masted sailboats docked. In the castle in the middle of the island, a sharp and terrifying laughter sounded, shaking the surrounding houses constantly. Mom, did that guy Whitebeard really do it? In the middle of the castle, a tall, fat, vicious woman wearing thick lipstick and light purple eyeshadow, and wearing a pink wide dress, is laughing happily. The laughter seemed too loud, causing the people around to cover their ears in pain. But there is one exception among these people. This man is tall, with short red amaranth hair, and a white scarf like a flower around his neck, tightly wrapping his mouth. In the face of this terrifying laughter, he even closed his eyes tightly and folded his hands together, seemingly unaffected. Charlotte Kata Curry, the second son of the ant, the head of the 3-star, is the strongest existence among the ant's many children, and has an observation hockey that can see the future. After hearing the ant's question, he finally opened his eyes. All the members of the Whitebeard pirates have lost track. It can be determined that they are heading to Marineford. And according to the latest information, Kaido launched an attack on Whitebeard's site, and the red-haired Shanks also went to Whitebeard's site, seemingly trying to stop Kaido. Mom. Are we going to make a move? Advertisement. When this word fell, the ant stopped laughing, and the people present heaved a sigh of relief, and wiped the sweat from her forehead at the same time. Whitebeard actually went to war against Marine for a hairy boy. It's as naive as before. The ant gave a terrifying smile. But under this smile, there seemed to be dissatisfaction with Whitebeard. It seems to blame Whitebeard for giving up his existing power because of a kid, and he will fight with Marine. I heard that Huaquan Ace is the son he agrees with. Kata Curry said in silence for a while. Unlike the ant, he has an inexplicable affection for Whitebeard. When Firefist Ace is not a parent child, Whitebeard still does not hesitate to face Marine directly. This kind of affection has always been the envy of him. Stupid behavior. When the ant heard this, she was inexplicably furious, her eyes staring at Kata Curry, an overwhelming breath erupted from her body. Under this breath, those present shivered. And Kata Curry closed his eyes, suppressed his heart for Whitebeard, and said nothing. Mom, then shall we make a move? The eldest son Charlotte Perospero tried to endure the fear in his heart and asked nervously. Of course it's going to be shot. In the battle between Whitebeard and Marine, there must be a wound. If you don't take action at this time, wouldn't it be cheaper, Kaido and Shanks? The ant smiled horribly, but soon the words changed. But before that, let Shanks and Kaido fight for a while. After their battle is over, we will make another move. Advertisement. Although the ant's personality is irritable, she often loses control. But he is a person with extremely powerful means, otherwise he would not be able to establish the nations and become one of the 4 emperors on the sea. Faced with the current situation, she saw the key at a glance. Knowing that if you shoot now, you will definitely be stopped. So it's better to let Kaido and Hongfu lose both, and reap the benefits of the fisherman. And the ant in the original book is like this, only occupying the Fishmen Island and other territories. Kaido, who was the first to take the shot, had no gain because of his red hair. Clear. The crowd nodded their heads. But before that, we have to do some preparations. The ant turned her gaze to the crowd. I heard that the desserts on the Fishmen Island are very good. Kata Curry, you will lead the team and go to the Fishmen Island. Redhead and Kaido are about to collide. Although she didn't want to shoot so quickly, she couldn't look stupidly. Now let Kata Curry go to the Fishmen Island. After the fight between the two is over, the Fishmen Island can be occupied. Then take the Fishmen Island as the center to carve up the other sites of Whitebeard. Yes, mother. Kata Curry nodded and walked outside. After just a while, it disappeared from everyone's sight. At the time of the ant's action, the various forces in the New World were also waiting for the outbreak of this century war. Advertisement. For example, 5 Elders, the leader of the world government. 5 Elders is sitting in front of the video at this time, discussing how to treat the various forces in the New World after Whitebeard's death in the battle. It is to rebuild a new balance. There is still a great purge to eradicate all forces. But all of this is based on the death of Whitebeard, otherwise everything we thought would be in vain. Yes, Whitebeard must fight Marineford. This battle is about the majesty of the world government and Marine. It is also in response to the arrival of the Great Era and the important battle to suppress the waves of New World. We must win. 5 Elders talked a lot. Make up your mind, no matter how much you pay, you have to win it. When 5 Elders was looking forward to the death of Whitebeard in battle, the leader of the revolutionaries Monkey D. Dragon. At this time, he was also standing on the bow, looking into the distance. The king of the old age is attacking Marineford. Times will change in this battle. A new era may be born because of this. What role do we play in it? He has a hunch. After this war, the Great Era will come completely. At that time, it was also when the Revolutionary Army officially declared war on celestial dragons. When the world was in turmoil due to the war on top, the mobile, carrying Whitebeard, also passed through the sea and reached the gate of justice in Marineford. As long as you pass through this door, the war will start completely. Chapter 24. Whitebeard, here comes. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Marineford. The cloud of war enveloped the island. Everyone knows that there must be a battle between the Whitebeard pirates and Marine. Therefore, before the start of the war, reporters from all over the world rushed to live broadcast the war for people all over the world. And Marine in order to meet the war of the century. Not only 50 sea ships were arranged around the crescent-shaped bay. Countless heavy cannons were erected on the shore. Certainly, that's not all. On the bay, the conscripted 7 warlords of the sea stand in rows. Around him are 100,000 elite Marines, each holding a gun or a long sword. Further on, Marine 3 Admiral sits on the throne. Ace, who was about to be executed, knelt on the high platform behind San Admiral. In other words, if you want to rescue Ace, you must overcome the siege of 50 warships and many heavy artillery in the Gulf. Then resist the siege of 7 warlords of the sea and 100,000 Marine. Break free 3 more Admiral's obstacles. Only in this way can I get close to the execution platform and save Ace. With such a powerful force, let alone a 4 Emperors group, even if 2 4 Emperors groups arrive, it is estimated that they will have to fold in. You can know from this. How worried is Marine about Whitebeard? Advertisement. No matter what happens, there are only 3 hours left. At that time everything will be over. A Commodore shouted nervously and solemnly. The 100,000 elite Marines deployed around heard these words and immediately grasped the weapon in their hands, and the forehead also slipped cold sweat. 3 hours. With only 3 hours left, Ace will be executed. Within these 3 hours, Whitebeard may attack Marineford. Hehehehe. Whitebeard won't be scared anymore, so don't you plan to come? The bloated gecko Moria laughed. He is the last king of the old age. In this sea, no one is more free than him. Even if Marineford arranges 100,000 Marines, he still can't stop him from coming. Doflamingo, wearing sunglasses and a pink feather coat, smiled, and gradually changed into a big laugh. His arms were even more open, and his face was full of excitement. Hey, so fortunately, we are about to witness the arrival of the great era. In this big era, what role will we play? Is it acting as a spectator like a ghost, or participating in this battle and witnessing the last afterglow of the king of the old age in this sea? Other Shichibukai heard this with mixed expressions. In other words, apart from Ming Jie and Moria, several other people did not want to participate in this war. Brother Ming didn't feel embarrassed when no one cared about him. Instead, he continued to laugh, staring at the sea ahead, waiting for the arrival of Whitebeard. On the high platform, Sengoku stood beside Ace, his face extremely heavy. I didn't expect Whitebeard to go to Impel Down. Now Magellan has lost contact and has no idea what happened there. Not long ago, he received a subpoena from Magellan. It is said that Whitebeard has arrived at Impel Down, ready to take Ace from prison. Advertisement. He was still very nervous at the time. Fortunately, Magellan acted decisively, and when Whitebeard arrived, he issued an escort order. So Ace was taken to the headquarters without any risk. In the face of this change, he should send soldiers to support him. However, according to Magellan's subpoena, only the Moby Dick went to Impel Down, and the other ships of the Whitebeard pirates did not appear. So he can only press the idea of rescue. Continue to wait at Marineford for the arrival of the Whitebeard pirates. I hope there will be nothing wrong with Magellan. Sengoku took a deep breath and took a step forward at the same time. With 3 hours left before the execution, he is going to announce the true identity of Ace. He took out the phone worm, and the voice spread around. I have something to announce to everyone. It is about the identity of Ace Huaquan and the significance of the execution. The sound reaches everyone's ears. The people present all showed their doubts, not knowing what Sengoku wanted to say. Ace, say your father's name. Sengoku said solemnly. My father is Whitebeard. Ace, kneeling on the ground, closed his eyes tightly, and his tone was extremely determined. Wrong. Sengoku yelled. Then, under everyone's unbelievable eyes, he told a long-lost past. More than a year after your father died, the child who inherited the world's most evil blood was born, and that person is you. So your father is Roger One Piece. Advertisement. The words fell, and Marineford fell into a strange silence. So people stood there blankly, as if they couldn't believe their ears. It took a long time before he reacted and made a shocking noise. Fire Fist Ace is from Roger One Piece. Bloodline. How is it possible that a child with extremely evil blood has survived to this day? Big news, pass this news back to the agency soon. Reporter, Marine, Shichibukai. Everyone here was so shocked by the news that they exclaimed one by one, with a look of horror on their faces. Ace, Garp, with silver and white hair and a sturdy body, turned his head and gritted his teeth, eyes full of guilt and intolerance. You, with the most evil blood in the world, have the potential to stand at the peak of the times. So taking your head off is of great significance. For this reason, an all-out war broke out with Whitebeard, and it's whatever. Sengoku shouted firmly. Well, 100,000 Marine heard this roar, and the voice spread all over the surrounding waters. But at this moment, a colonel ran over. After a salute, he shouted loudly. Marshal Sengoku, the gate of justice opened without anyone's instructions, and at the gate of justice, we found the trail of the Moby Dick. Whitebeard. Has come. Chapter 25. The World's Strongest Man, Debut. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Whitebeard. Has come. This word spread to Marineford through a phone worm. The people who were originally shocked by the identity of Ace suddenly awakened with a shock. Whitebeard is here. The man who claims to be the strongest man in the world. Finally arrived at Marineford. The solemn atmosphere swept like a storm. 7 warlords of the sea, Marine 3 Admiral, 100,000 Marine soldiers. Everyone here has a solemn look on their faces, and their hearts are beating violently. Finally come. The man at the top of the old age. There is nothing to hide, it appears directly from the gate of justice. Marines clench the guns in their hands, as if only in this way could they feel safe in their hearts. Yeah, is it finally here? It's terrible. Kizaru, who was holding Erlang's legs, exaggerated. The Moby Dick. Was it only Whitebeard coming, and the others didn't arrive at Marineford? Aokiji supported his chin with both hands, full of doubts. Quote. Akainu on the side frowned similarly, wondering why only the Moby Dick appeared. Puff ha ha ha, it's really Whitebeard, who came here without concealing it. Garp not far away laughed, as if he didn't care about the next battle at all. Now is not the time to be happy. Crane Vice Admiral has a headache. Haha, sorry, advertisement. Garp smiled and apologized insincerely. Come yet. The face of Sengoku on the execution stage changed, and he yelled at the phone worm, everyone is in a state of combat. Yes, 100,000 Marine responded in a sudden. Cannons were set up from warships, and the heavy artillery in the bay was filled with ammunition. The elite Marines pulled out their weapons and stared at the sea nervously. About 4 or 5 minutes passed. A black spot appeared from the sea level, and it got bigger and bigger. Just an instant, appeared in front of everyone. Moby Dick. The pirate ship of Whitebeard, the strongest man in the world. At this point, finally arrived. Coming. The Marine soldier in the front shouted. Hearing this, other people gritted their teeth and stared at the three-masted sailing ship that was approaching with their eyes wide open. The pressure in their hearts increased sharply. Although they were well prepared. But when he really faced Whitebeard, he still felt scared. Really only the Moby Dick. Sitting in his seat, Aokiji was puzzled. When Whitebeard arrives, his pirate group will never fail to come, but where are the ships? Maybe it's not necessarily if you didn't come. Kizaru spread out his hands, looking calm. Impossible. Aokiji shook his head. In this world, there is no reason why the captain is desperate and the crew hides behind. So he was sure that the other ships of the Whitebeard pirates were also hiding somewhere, preparing to attack Marineford. Whitebeard, what are you thinking? Sengoku on the execution stage was also surprised. Advertisement. But now is not the time to think so much. In a deep breath, he immediately raised his arm and swung it down fiercely. Prepare. A roar spread through the phone worm all around. 100,000 Marine elites raised their guns and prepared to attack when Whitebeard approached. The Moby Dick. A group of people have stood on the high platform at the bow of the ship. Looking at the tightly defended island in the distance, everyone's expressions were different. Valorolo. Sengoku is really as cautious as before. In order to deal with you, he has prepared so many warships. World laughed as he looked at the rows of ships on the sea. Hey, it's really hell difficulty. Crocodile dipped his cigar and pointed to the bay at the same time. In addition to warships, there are many heavy artillery on the shore, and there are 100,000 Marine elites behind him. If you want to rescue the firefighter, you must break through these blockades. Ace. Luffy clenched his fist tightly, wishing to rush forward immediately. Straw Hat Boy, don't be impulsive. Ivankov put a hand on Luffy's shoulder, fearing that Luffy rushed over and fought melee with 100,000 Marine. Whitebeard ignored the conversations of several people, but took out the phone worm. Marco, you can act. Understood, father. There was a voice from the phone worm. Then, a lot of bubbles popped up on the sea ahead. The sound of gurgling sounded, and the water waves continued to rise like a fountain, and then rose into the sky. Wow, the water and waves spread out like heavy rain. Under everyone's shocked gaze, three-masted sailboats with the flag of the Whitebeard pirate group rose from the sea. Advertisement. Then slammed heavily on the sea and stopped steadily. What? All the ships of the Whitebeard pirate group have all appeared. Damn it, it's no wonder that only the Moby Dick is out there. It turns out that other ships are lurking in the sea through the coating, and it hasn't appeared until now. Marine on the shore was shocked. Hey, it really came out of an unexpected place. It's so funny, I can't help it anymore, come on, Whitebeard. Doflamingo opened his arms and laughed wildly. He. In this way, Marine's 50 warships are useless. Gecko Moria is also full of interest. Bad. Sengoku slipped in a cold sweat on the execution stage, knowing that the first line of defense he had laid out had been breached before the war had started. As predicted, under the cover of the Whitebeard pirates, the Moby Dick cut through the waves and came to the bay. Marine looked up at the Moby Dick and swallowed continuously. A strong pressure enveloped my heart, causing some timid soldiers to tremble, and their footsteps subconsciously retreated. Then, under the gaze of 100,000 Marines, many Vice Admiral, Rear Admiral, 7 Warlords of the Sea, 3 Admiral, Marine Hero Garp and Marshal Sengoku. A tall figure with a crescent beard. Slowly walk out of the crowd. Ignoring the 100,000 Marine soldiers and everyone else completely, he smashed his sword heavily on the ship's board. He looked straight at the execution platform and laughed boldly. Goo la la la, Ace, my beloved son, you still, okay. Asterisk. Chapter 26. Whitebeard's Pinnacle Blow. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. My beloved son, how are you doing? Ignoring 100,000 seamen, ignoring 7 warlords of the sea, ignoring 3 admiral, Whitebeard directly asked Ace on the execution stage. Ace, who was kneeling on the stage, raised his head abruptly. After seeing the familiar and kind figure on the boat, the feelings in my heart could no longer be suppressed. Daddy. The sound of deep emotion resounded through Marineford. Wait a little longer, Ace. Whitebeard grinned, his eyes became fierce, and his fist slowly raised and crossed his chest. Then when everyone didn't react, smashed down. Click. The sound of fragmentation exploded, and the air was directly shattered by a punch, causing cracks. The terrible shock force swept across the surrounding waters. Boom. The sea is rioting. As if being dragged by something, the sea raised waves of water, and amidst the rumbling noise, it charged like 1,000 horses and rushed towards Marineford. The horrible waves blocked the sun and dimmed the island. Marine, who was shocked by the appearance of Whitebeard, finally woke up at this moment, looking at the water waves rising from the sky. A look of fear appeared in his eyes. What's the matter with this wave? Whitebeard, this is Whitebeard's ability. He set off a huge wave, ready to destroy Marineford in one fell swoop. It's over. It's all over. How can we survive under such huge waves? The Marines were horrified. At this moment, panic spread across the island. 90% of the people held their heads, and there was a look of despair in their eyes. Advertisement. One strike. Whitebeard only took one blow. It crushed 100,000 Marines' fighting spirit. In the hearts of some Marines, there was an indelible nightmare. Hume. It's a terrifying power. Is this the strength of the world's strongest man? It's shocking. Doflamingo opened his hand and laughed wildly. Whitebeard has already made a move, how should the Marines respond? Mahawk, the eagle eye with a hat on the side, listened to this, pressing his palm on the sword, looking sharply at the huge waves rushing from both sides, with a very serious expression. This kind of power is indeed terrible. He spoke in a low voice. In the depths of the eyes, shocked flashes. That's right. Just shocked. Even if he is the world's largest swordsman, he was shocked by this power. I have to admit, Whitebeard is terrible. If no one stops, Marines' 100,000 elites will probably be destroyed by Whitebeard. Is this the strength of the king of the old age? Marine Vice Admiral Hina with pink hair is dripping with cold sweat and feeling cold on his limbs. Faced with this power that destroys the world, she actually had the idea of giving up resistance. Marine Admiral don't make a move yet. Smoker, with his cigar in his mouth, looked at the high platform nervously. This is a huge wave. If no one stops, Marine will definitely suffer heavy casualties. If these capable people are washed by the sea, I am afraid they will be buried in the sea. Using this kind of large-scale offense is really hard to defend against. Aokiji stood up. Advertisement. Then he stepped on his feet and his body rose into the sky. After reaching the sky, his arms opened, and the cold air spread from his fingers. Ice Age. The clear voice resounded all around. The frost broke out and rushed to the waves coming from both sides. Then under people's shocked eyes, the ice spread, completely freezing the billowing waves. In just a while, 2 icebergs appeared on the side of the island. Stop. Stop it. It's Aokiji Admiral, he shot. We are still alive, long live. A group of Marines woke up, their faces showed the joy of life after the disaster, and they yelled frantically. Aokiji. You kid. Whitebeard grinned, and then the words changed. Do you think my blow is nothing more than that? In the original book, Aokiji used the Ice Age to prevent sea shocks. But how could he continue to make this kind of mistake when he returned to his peak state and knew the original work? What? Aokiji was taken aback for a moment, and doubts flashed in his eyes. Then I found that the island was trembling violently, and the rumbling voice spread from far to near, alarming everyone. What happened again? The Marines looked at both sides suspiciously. However, the 2 sides are blocked by ice waves, and the outside scene can't be seen at all. Boom. There was a loud noise. The frozen sea wave was shaking violently. The rumbling water waves are endless, crashing into the ice waves crazily, shaking the ice waves. Finally, the ice wave couldn't withstand this kind of impact, and it burst fiercely. Advertisement. Pieces of huge ice rocks fell from the sky, like a meteorite, smashing towards Marineford. At the same time, the huge waves rushed to the island through the broken ice waves. This is the second huge wave. The Marine soldiers yelled in horror. It turned out that after Whitebeard used the vibration ability, a total of 2 huge waves were set off. The first huge wave was frozen by the Ice Age. But the second huge wave was blocked by the freezing water waves, so that no one noticed it. Now the huge waves are coming with ice and rocks, and the power is even more terrifying. In the face of successive attacks, let alone ordinary Marine soldiers, even the generals were a little desperate. Ice Age. Aokiji couldn't take care of anything anymore, and shouted. The frost sprayed again, freezing the second wave of water coming from behind. But it's not very useful. Because he can freeze water waves, but cannot stop falling ice and rocks. Countless ice and rocks fell from the sky and blasted down heavily. Those Vice Admiral, Rear Admiral, as well as some powerful seamen, are naturally not afraid of the ice and rocks in the sky. But those ordinary Marines were desperate. They blocked the first and second ice stone, but they couldn't block the third. Then, the screams rose to the sky. The seamen who were hit by the ice and stone fell to the ground one by one with serious injuries. It only took a while to dye the island red. Under this blow, at least tens of thousands of Marines were seriously injured and could no longer fight. Chapter 27. Bombardment Admiral Aokiji. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Bad. Aokiji's face was a little ugly. Not to mention the ordinary Marines, even Marine Admiral, he did not expect Whitebeard to make 2 waves. The Ice Age just now, in a sense, helped Whitebeard. Goo la la la. Boy Aokiji, don't be distracted when fighting. A loud laugh came. Aokiji raised his head fiercely, and then his eyes shrank into needles. I saw Whitebeard leaning over his body, raising his arm high, and slamming it down heavily against the air. Boom. Loud roar. The light mass crushed the air, forming cracks. The strongest shock force swept Aokiji in midair. 2 thorn spears. No matter how Aokiji was admiral, he immediately reacted, folded his hands in front of him, and the frost covered his arms. In an instant, several ice spears appeared. With the swing of both arms, the spear stabs away in response to the force of the shock. Under everyone's gaze, the two collided. Then, it burst fiercely. The ice spear disappeared at this moment, but the power of the shock wave continued to rush away. What? Everyone was surprised. Unexpectedly, Aokiji's attack would be crushed so easily. Aokiji's eyes narrowed. I never thought it would be the result. At this time, the shock wave rushed, and there was no extra time to think, immediately crossed his hands and blocked him in front of him. Boom. Advertisement. A loud noise. The power of the shock hit the body head on. Feeling this power, Aokiji's face changed drastically. Strength. Unparalleled power. In this hit, he actually felt the terrifying power that even his own admiral could not resist. How could Whitebeard's power be so powerful? A look of shock appeared on Aokiji's face. He never dreamed of it. Whitebeard, who was in his 70s, was so terrifying with a casual blow. The terrible shocking force was even hard for him to resist. Boom. The power broke out. The shock wave crushed Aokiji's resistance and flew out with a bang, hitting the island hard. Smoke and dust rose up, making it impossible to see what was inside. Kojima. Falling into a weird silence. 100,000 seamen, many Vice Admiral, Rear Admiral, 7 warlords of the sea, Marine Marshal heroes. All those present were shocked. Who is Aokiji? One of Naval Headquarters 3 Admiral. I dare not say that the strength is the strongest in the world, but it is also among the top in the world. But such a strong man fell from the sky with a punch by Whitebeard. At this moment, everyone understands. Why is Whitebeard known as the strongest in the world? Why in the old age, can be invincible across the sea, and One Piece Roger. Admiral's strength is shocking. Advertisement. Even more. Desperate. How could Aokiji Admiral be bombarded? What's the joke? Aokiji Admiral is the highest combat power in this unit, how could it turn out to be like this? Whitebeard is so strong, are we really opponents? Many seamen murmured in confusion. Is this the strength of the world's strongest man? Doflamingo stopped laughing frantically, his forehead slipped away with cold sweat. He came here because he felt that Whitebeard was old and his strength was definitely not as good as before. As long as he didn't face Whitebeard, he didn't have to worry about anything. But after watching the duel just now, where is Whitebeard old? Even Marine Admiral can fly with one punch. He can't deal with it at all. There is no skill, it is purely a crushing force. Hawkeye Mahawk clung to the long sword, a deep shock flashed in the depths of his eyes. He saw the confrontation just now clearly. Knowing that Aokiji was bombed, not because he was too late to defend. It's because, can't resist. That's right. Just can't resist. The shock power used by Whitebeard completely surpassed Aokiji's ice power. At the level of strength, a total suppression was carried out. So that Aokiji was blown away with a punch. This kind of age still has terrifying strength above Admiral, really worthy of being the strongest man in the world. In today's era, apart from you, I am afraid that no one else deserves this title. Hawkeye Mahawk said very seriously. The title of Whitebeard is even more respectful. It seems that there is only this. Only then can I express my respect for the strongest man in the world. Puff ha ha ha. Advertisement. The guy Whitebeard is really as strong as ever, and he knocked Aokiji into the air. Garp is like a okay person, hugging his belly and laughing. Garp, you shut up. Sengoku on the execution stage twitched his mouth, lowered his head, and yelled at Garp. Ha ha ha. Sorry. Garp apologized insincerely. This guy. Sengoku took a sigh of relief, then looked at Whitebeard, his face extremely solemn. This old guy is so old, how can he still have such strength? He and Whitebeard are from the same age. So it is clear how age affects strength. But the punch just now gave him a feeling that Whitebeard was still at the top. Ahem. The cough sounded. Wake up people who were in a state of shock. Everyone turned their heads and looked, only to see the smoke disappeared, and the bombed Aokiji admiral stood up from the gravel. The people who were already deeply shocked. After seeing Aokiji, they trembled. How can it be? The face of 100,000 marine soldiers was unbelievable. Because Aokiji stood up again, half of his body was beaten, and the corners of his mouth were dripping with blood. In other words, under the blow of Whitebeard, Aokiji was not only blown away, but also punched. Chapter 28. The largest melee in history. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Aokiji Admiral was injured. How can it be? How could Admiral of the headquarters get hurt by a punch? When the surrounding Marines saw this, they hugged their heads, with incredible expressions on their faces. This is the strength of the old man. Marco was extremely proud. Ha 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 ha. Although Admiral is strong, Dad is the strongest person in the world, and he cannot be resisted by an Admiral. Joes laughed. How about Sengoku's defense? As long as the old man is there, we will be able to break through the blockade and rescue Ace. Yes. This battle must be won. The crew of the Whitebeard pirates cheered excitedly. Sons, rescue Ace. Whitebeard retracted his arm, violently raised his broad knife, and pointed it straight in the direction of the execution platform. Well, all members of the Whitebeard pirates roared. One by one jumped off the boat, landed on the frozen bay, and rushed towards the island. All against. Sengoku held the phone bug and yelled. The Marines who had been in a shocked state immediately woke up. Seeing the pirates rushing towards the shore, they could no longer take care of the others, and raised their weapons one after another, preparing to attack. Shelling. Immediately shelling. A Commodore drew his sword and roared angrily. The controller of the fort on the shore ignited the artillery. Boom, boom, boom. The black lead bullet rushed out and landed on the bay. Advertisement. A violent explosion took place, splashing the icy debris that exploded on the ice, and the flames skyrocketed. Let's go too. Marco drank. Clear. Many captains responded in a sudden, jumping off the boat one by one and rushing towards the shore. The captain's strength is different from that of ordinary crew members, like a lightning figure, easily avoiding shell attacks. In just an instant, it rushed through most of the bay. If it is not stopped, I am afraid it will not take long before it will break into the shore. The captain of the Whitebeard pirates. A group of generals wearing marine coats stood out from the crowd. Their oars were extremely strong. In this case, let us be your opponents. It's Vice Admiral. Vice Admiral gathered together. It's really rare to see it. As long as the Vice Admirals are here, Captain Whitebeard won't want to land. The surrounding Marines cheered. In cheers, a dozen Vice Admiral jumped off the shore and rushed to the captain of the Whitebeard pirate group. The two sides collided with the roar of artillery. Although the captain of the Whitebeard pirate group is strong, the Marine Vice Admiral cannot be underestimated. Under Vice Admiral's prevention, a group of captains were stopped. Assault on the shore, but the mission that the old man gave us, can't let you stop it. Marco chuckled. The moment the words fell, blue flames burned with both arms, rising into the sky like a big bird. In the original book, he has been with Whitebeard to protect Whitebeard. But Whitebeard has returned to peak form. There are also a group of impelled down prisoners around, so they don't need Marco to protect them. So Marco, Joes and others have a new task. That is to lead all the crew, forcibly into Marineford, to open the way for the rescue of Ace. As for Marine's high-end combat power, Whitebeard and his team will resist. So, let me go. Advertisement. Marco laughed loudly. The figure in the sky rushed down like lightning and kicked heavily towards the Ghost Spider Vice Admiral. Boom. A dull voice sounded. Before the Ghost Spider could react, he was kicked and flew wildly. After he stood up again, Marco had already passed his position with a group of crew members. Damn it. The Ghost Spider was furious and immediately pursued it. However, Marco's location is getting closer and closer to the shore, leaving the Ghost Spider helpless. Strike into Marineford with all your strength. Joes also yelled angrily. The light of diamonds covered half of the body, and after a violent break through the air from his fist, he slammed Dalmesia Vice Admiral severely. Boom, boom, boom. The two fought fiercely together. Dalmesia's strength surged and shot with all his strength. But Jaws's arm was enveloped by diamonds, and he was not afraid of fist attacks. In the fierce collision, Joes slammed. Boom. He put his body heavily on Dalmesia's belly, let the other party back a few steps, and then half-kneeled on the ground, clutching his belly with cold sweat. And Joes also took advantage of this opportunity to make a quick assault. Good job, Joes. Beasta laughed, and at the same time locked the vice admiral in front of him, and waved his arms vigorously. Stabbed. The sharp sword light flashed past. Two crescent-like slashes soared into the sky, making Striles had to dodge. It was this time to evade, but Beasta rushed directly. Stabbed. The long sword cut across. Advertisement. With the spray of blood, there was a long cut mark on Vice Admiral's chest. Yeah, the captain of the Whitebeard pirate group is really terrible. The Vice Admiral were actually pushed back. Kizaru in the seat exaggerated. Humph. Akainu looked ugly on the side. Although Vice Admiral entered the war, the landing of the Whitebeard pirates was postponed. But the strength of Marco, Jose and Vista is clearly superior to the ordinary Vice Admiral. Powerful Vice Admirals such as Ghost Spiders and Flying Squirrels, although they are not afraid of Marco. But Marco and others had no idea of life and death at all, and immediately broke through as soon as they forced to retreat from Vice Admiral. So that the Whitebeard pirates are getting closer and closer to the shore. The melee has begun. Mahawk, the eagle eye on the shore, drew out his long sword, and a sharp breath spread, sweeping around. Hume. Why, as the world's #1 swordsman, do you want to make a move? Brother Ming laughed. I just want to test it. The true distance between me and the man known as the strongest man in the world. Hawkeye held the long sword fiercely, a sharp light flashed from his eyes, and then vigorously swung the long sword. Stabbed. A sword light across the sky crossed. As if to tear everything in the world, he rushed in Whitebeard's direction. In just an instant, the earth was split in half. He didn't want to be an enemy of Whitebeard. But I want to know how strong Whitebeard is, and how far he is from Whitebeard. Chapter 29. The Shock of Hawkeye. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. It's Hawkeye, as the world's largest swordsman going to make a move. Yes, we still have 7 warlords of the sea, and the Whitebeard pirates don't want to land on Marineford easily. The Marines cheered. Goo la la la, Hawkeye boy, you want to challenge me, it's too early. Not only was Whitebeard not angry when he saw this, he burst out laughing. As he raised his arm, he punched the air hard at the moment the slash rushed. Boom. The roar exploded. The strong shock wave spread, surging out like raging waves. Then, under everyone's gaze, the force of the vibration slammed into the shocking slash. Boom. A dull sound appeared. Then, slash. Broken. An extremely powerful slash for others, it was crushed to pieces when it touched the shock wave. The terrible shock power spread, and continued to hit the eagle eye. How can it be? Are you kidding? Is this true? Could it be that Hawkeye didn't make a full shot? The seaman showed horror. Never thought that the blow of the world's largest swordsman, Eagle Eye, could be so easily resolved. But soon, they reacted. Remember. Advertisement. Hawkeye's opponent is Whitebeard. With a punch, even Admiral of Headquarters was injured by the world's strongest man. At the same time, I also understand that it is not the Eagle Eye to release the water. But Whitebeard is too strong. It's so strong that even if Hawkeye uses its full slash, it can't interfere with Whitebeard. Marine officers who wanted to understand all showed shock. The horror of Whitebeard, once again refreshed their imagination. Regardless of Marine Admiral, or the world's #1 swordsman. In front of this figure, all have lost the capital of pride. Boom. The shock wave came. Hawkeye's eyes shrank, and he quickly raised his sword, blocking him in front of him. Clang. The sound of gold and iron sounded. Under the strong impact, Hawkeye's arm trembled. The body was pushed back again and again, and it was only a few meters later that he could not stop. Because of the impact of the shock wave, the arm was torn and there was a fierce pain. It's so powerful. A look of shock flashed in Hawkeye's eyes. Never thought that he would be forced back by Whitebeard. Suppress the shock in his heart, take a deep breath, and raise the sword again. Struggling to slash with both arms. The sword light burst like lightning, cutting all obstructions, and slashing towards Whitebeard. Faced with a more powerful slash, Whitebeard did not continue to make a move. Because he is the commander-in-chief of this war. The role is not only to coordinate the overall situation, but also to deter Marine. If the individual came to act, and the individual came to act again, then why did he summon so many prisoners? Advertisement. So for Hawkeye, a counterattack is enough. As the world's largest swordsman, being locked up in eternal hell for so many years, let's try with him and see how strong the current swordsman is. Just as the slash was about to hit the Moby Dick, Ryder took a step forward and blocked Whitebeard. With a swing of his right hand, the bat umbrella is horizontally in front of him. Watching the slashing closer and closer, the arm was raised and then swung. Stabbed. The sharp sound of breaking through the air exploded. A huge and unmatched slash appeared and slammed into Hawkeye's slash. Boom. The roar rang. The violent and fierce energies spread, stirred the surroundings, and rustled people's clothes. Then the light flashed, and the sword light disappeared. And Ryder, standing next to Whitebeard, also completely attracted people's attention. Yeah, an amazing guy appeared. Kizaru straightened his body, a look of surprise flashed in his eyes. Asshole Whitebeard, after going to impel down, he released these villains. Akainu couldn't help it anymore with his arms folded, and stood up with a squeak. Looking into the distance, I saw the group of people behind Whitebeard. Red Earl Rider, World Destroyer World, Heir to the Devil Bullet, the original Shichibukai Jinbei, the original Shichibukai Crocodile, the Revolutionary Army Ivankov, Amazuna, the Straw Hat Boy Luffy, the Crescent Hunter Dai Peng, the huge battleship Wolf, the Great Wine Shot, King Pizarro. This guy Whitebeard, let all these criminals out. Moreover, why Shiryu who guards the Long Reign is behind Whitebeard? Is it a betrayal? Sengoku on the execution stage was sweating coldly. Before, his gaze had been on Whitebeard and the group of captains, and he didn't even look at the group of people behind Whitebeard. Now that rider appeared, he immediately attracted his attention. And I don't know it, I was shocked when I saw it. I found that the people behind Whitebeard were all powerful men who moved the sea. Advertisement. Among them, Rider, Bullet and World are the masters of New World famous in old times. All appeared at this time, making him feel like a catastrophe is imminent. Because these forces add up, it is already worthy of a four emperors group. In other words, it is now the forces of 2 4 emperors, attacking Marineford. He noticed that the eagle eye was blocked by the slash, and looked at it in surprise, and then saw the bright red figure. Eagle Eye, the world's largest swordsman, let me be your opponent. Rider jumped down. After arriving not far from Hawkeye, he made a gentleman's gift like a gentleman, then raised the bat umbrella and pointed it directly at the other party. Red Earl Rider. Hawkeye's face changed slightly, and his eyes became sharper. Because the age is so long and Rider has been imprisoned for such a long time, many young people don't know about Rider. But he is the world's #1 swordsman. How could you have never heard of Red Earl Rider's name? Facing this kind of great swordsman, Hawkeye also returned a standard swordsman gift to Rider, indicating that he agreed to this duel. Hula. The breeze was blowing. When a shell fell and the fire was overflowing, the two rushed out at the same time. The body image is lightning fast, interlacing in the interweaving of long swords. Then the two looked back at the same time, and the sword swept across. Clang, 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 countless sparks splashed. With the battle between the two, a huge open space was cleared around. The strong sword intent rages, making people feel chilling. Chapter 30. All 7 warlords of the sea participated in the war. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Valorolo. That guy Rider has already started, and it's my turn next. Varda sneered at the seamen on the island, and seemed to remember everything back then. I will never let this group of bastards go. Said and walked off the bow. After taking a basket of shells, he grabbed the shells. In a loud roar, struggling to throw it out. 100 times the shells. When the words fell, the speeding cannonballs grew in size rapidly, falling from the sky like a meteorite. World is Momo fruit ability. With the blessing of this ability, the shell can easily be magnified 100 times. Asshole Marine, go to death for me. Valorolo. World laughed wildly. One after another cannonballs roared out, and as the Momo fruit's ability increased, it became obscured from the sky. What is this? Why is there such a big shell? Run, run. The Marines yelled in horror. Pity. Before they could escape, the huge shells had already crashed down. Boom. The violent sound rang, and countless fires sprayed, swallowing the surrounding Marines. What? There was a screaming scream. In this blow, countless seamen died as a result. Advertisement. Quickly stop those shells. Sengoku on the execution stage yelled, anxious on his face. The ability of World is really suitable for this kind of war. Marineford is not big, but has 100,000 Marine soldiers, so there is no need to consider whether the shells can hit people. As long as the shells are dropped on the island, it can cause huge casualties. Yes, the giant vice admiral, who was originally used to prevent the Whitebeard pirates from landing on the shore, had to take action in advance. The huge body leapt up, brandishing a weapon. Boom, boom, boom. Under the interception of these giant vice admiral, giant artillery shells were shattered, and flames filled the sky. Hey, the melee has already begun, but in this battle that will surely resound through the sea, how can I be missing from me? Crocodile sneered with his cigar. His body instantly turned into yellow sand in the sky, and quickly swept towards the bottom. The other prisoners also glanced at each other and jumped off the Moby Dick to join the fierce battle. Hume. What an unprecedented battle. Brother Doflamming opened his arms, raised his head and laughed, and then looked at the battlefield ahead. A touch of warfare appeared on his face. It makes my hands itchy. Itchy hands. Then let me be your opponent. A rush of sand and dust. Crocodile's figure appeared in the air, looking at Brother Ming as if looking down. It's you, alligator. Doflamingo still had a smile on his face, but his body tightened. I didn't expect you to help Whitebeard. Humph. I'm not helping that old man, I just want to witness the outcome of this war. Crocodile snorted coldly. As he spread his hands, a huge sandstorm rolled up. Advertisement. Disappear. You idiot. The dust storm that obscured the sky appeared and slammed into Doflamingo. This guy. Doflamingo's face darkened. Although he wanted to fight with itchy hands, he had never thought of fighting against such a master, because it didn't do him any good. But in the face of such an attack, he can only fight back. The big bear, who didn't say a word on the side, stepped forward after seeing Hawkeye in Doflamingo's hands. Raise his arm and aim it at the rushing Whitebeard pirates. Daddy's enemy is my enemy, so in this battle, let me be your opponent. Jinbei stopped before the big bear. The big bear seemed to be unconscious, his raised arm turned, and the ball of his palm aimed at Jinbei. Boom. Within a short while, the battle between the two sides started. Hehehehe. The more intense you fight, the more beneficial it is for me, so that I can reorganize the zombie army. Gecko Moria shrieked a sharp laugh. But before he was finished laughing, a sharp sword light cut him from a distance, frightened him and hurriedly backed away, and then looked at that position in anger. Everyone is fighting, but you, as 7 warlords of the sea, are here to hide your head and show your tail. What a shame. Dressed in the costume of the warden and dangling a cigar, Shiryu of Rain walked step by step, looking at Gecko Moria with disdain. Marine. Gecko Moria was taken aback. I don't understand why Marine is attacking himself. First I'm not Marine now. Rain. Shiryu sneered and attacked again. He is very clear about the current situation. Knowing that as a betrayer, he must help Whitebeard win the war before he can leave Marineford. Advertisement. So in order to be free, he has no idea of mercy. Damn it. Seeing Yuji Shiryu attacked herself, Gecko Moria, who was thinking of picking up the bargain, had to respond. Boom. 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 The fierce explosion sounded continuously along with the confrontation. On the bay, the fighting has reached a fever pitch. Marine is strong, but it didn't get any benefits. A group of vice admiral is entangled by the captain of the Whitebeard pirate group. The giant vice admiral was busy resisting the huge cannonballs continuously released by World, and had no time to participate in other battles. Shichibukai Hawkeye is blocked by Red Earl Rider. Doflamingo and Crocodile are fighting together. Big Bear is pinned by Jinbei. Gecko Moria is fighting again with Shiryu of Rain. Empress Hancock had no intention of fighting at all. In this situation, the Whitebeard pirates continued to approach the shore, and they were about to break through Marine's second and most important line of defense. It's completely at a disadvantage. Sengoku on the execution stage gritted his teeth and clearly continued. Sooner or later, the second line of defense would be broken. It seems that you can only use that one. He took out the phone worm and said a few words to the phone worm. Soon, there was a movement behind the Moby Dick. I saw 2 warships appear, and one big bear walked down from the warship, completely cutting off the back road of the bay. Facing Marine's defeat, Sengoku finally used his trump card, a human weapon. ...